See you from afar, got my thoughts in the sky. Where we used to kiss, sunshine, shit, and why? You gotta call me every day, pretend you my baby. I see more real out there lately, it's crazy. Yeah, we could be the same as we claiming this kingdom shit and keep it tame. Come on, baby girl, we're not the same. Two different speeds, but we keep it one lane. Yeah, what goes around comes around. Keep 100, y'all. Do this for my soul like a dawn. Put the stereo on.
Put your hands in the air, we'll be alright. Hey. Oh, yeah. You keep messing up my mind, but I love your style. You know I
put the place up. Put my face up.
cards on the table, sending out a message in a bottle. Came in through the door like a hurricane, and I hope you won't get your feet cold. I'm losing my cool when I'm here right next to you. I'm losing my cool. Yeah, I'm losing my cool when I'm under your control. I'm losing my cool. Yeah. Keeping the shades on, though there's dark clouds. 'Cause if you look in my eyes, you would see it all. And I gotta keep my head over the surface, oh yeah. But your waves pulls me in, and I can't hold it back again. I'm losing my cool when I'm here right next to you. I'm losing my cool. Yeah, I'm losing my cool when I'm under your control. I'm losing my cool. Yeah, I'm losing my cool.
Welcome in, everybody. It's Esports Weekly yet again, this time on a Tuesday. This is what we're doing now. Hopefully you like it more, because I think I like it more. We're going to wait and see, but so far, so good. We got a great show for you today. A lot of discussions about last week during the SPL, the SCL, the minor league. We've got great discussion about the meta coming up, Pele viable this week, so we'll talk about that. And a big late-breaking roster change that we're going to go over. We'll key you in on that in a little bit. But first, let's go over what happened in this last week. In order to do that, I've got Anatoly and John Finch on the desk with me. Gentlemen, let's start with the SCL. And in fact, let's start with console, if we can get those standings to see exactly where everyone's sitting. Rival continues to look very, very good, but they do seem to be human so far.
There's no surprises that the European region is being dominated out of Rival North America from Astral Authority. Rival has been known to dominate their online portion, and so far in Season 5 has stepped up in the LAN, winning spring, almost winning the summer. I think that they're on the right pacing to maybe even win fall.
But you're right there, Ryan. I think that they have been kind of showing a little bit more weakness here so far in the online phases up against Cyclone, right? They had a hard time closing that second game out in particular, and we saw it earlier on. They are still 3-0 at this point. They've been able to close out their sets, yes, but they haven't been maybe as clean as we've been used to seeing from Rival in the online phases before. Rival
did end up 2-0ing Retribution during week 2 as well. I just feel like Rival as a whole, it feels like they're dropping games that they shouldn't, or putting themselves in position to drop games where you would expect them to do so. Week 3, we saw them 2-0 Cyclone, but as you mentioned, a little bit tough. They really should have lost that game too overall.
I'm not too concerned for Rival though, because we could look at a lot of different SPL teams that have that same track record where they might not have the cleanest online games, but when they come into the LAN environment, I'm looking specifically out of Rival in PC and EU United out of PC, they just dominate the whole LAN environment.
No, you're totally right, and that's completely fair. A win is a win is a win. It doesn't really matter how you get it. It just matters that you get it. And Astral Authority's getting those wins on the North American side of things. They continue to look very strong, so those are the two teams to keep an eye on. Let's take a look at PS4 and how they did this week. Finch's favorite team, the Playing Ducks, ended up falling during week 3, but they won in week 2, beating Insomnia.
That's right, and that was not easy for them. Game 1 was rough for Playing Ducks back then. They were able to kind of climb back in some long game 2 and game 3. Broke my heart a little bit, though, in week 3 when they went up against Bulldog Esports. I mean, that one was a 2-0. Well, Bulldog was able to get it pretty easily. I'm sure you were happy watching Zeus frag out in there looking good. So
always.
Good for you at the very least. But yeah, I mean, Bulldog, it was surprising, right? Because they were 0-2 going into that set. We were watching them play so much better than Playing Ducks, really, that we were surprised. How'd they end up 0-2 at that point?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see what Bulldog Esports has moving forward, whereas in North America, Evil Lemons has had a bit of struggle so far.
Yeah.
They are sitting at 0-3 in control, sitting up on top. Excited to get a chance to watch them go up against the other North American members. And in fact, let's take a look at the schedule for this next week coming up in the console leagues. We've got the Xbox and PS4, of course. This is your PS4 schedule.
Oh, that's good sets.
And we'll get to see Bulldog up against Insomnia and Coalition versus Strictly Business.
Coalition needs to win this one. They're right just one set underneath that top standings, and they really need to find this one. And they had a dominant performance last week against Evil Lemons. I'm specifically looking at the solo and the jungle performance, the way they combine in that set. I think they can definitely transition that to week 4.
I think that's going to be a big one, too. I'm also looking at that Bulldog Insomnia when Insomnia looked good back sort of around like week 1, but they had a bit of struggles there in week 2. Bulldog, we just said, just came off their victory, so they're feeling hot. Which one of those teams can really start to build some momentum is kind of where my eyes are at.
Well, let's take a look at the Xbox schedule as well for this upcoming week. Remember, we usually do Esports Weekly on Monday, so it's after our show here on Esports Weekly. This time, not so lucky for that. If you're looking for Console League, that is on Mondays starting at 11. So at 11, you can check out Cyclone GG up against Retribution, a very big game to try and contest up against Rival from the bottom of the league, and then Armada versus Elevate. Again, two teams trying to catch up to the leader in their league, and that is Astral Authority in North America. Armada and Elevate, two very experienced teams. I think that if there's a team that's going to potentially lose their perfect record, it would be Astral Authority, just because North America feels so competitive right now.
It really is tough, but I really do think, for the most part, they're worried about Flashpoint, really, over there on the American Xbox side. Armada, they were looking okay. Their one win was up against Elevate, so I'm excited to see if maybe they can do it up again. But, I mean, yes, there's a chance, but I really think it's mostly Flashpoint they're worried about.
Flashpoint, certainly a veteran team to watch out for. Okay, that's the Smite Console League. Let's move on to the Smite Minor League. We saw a lot of really, really good games this week. A couple people really rise up the ranks in Europe pretty quickly. I'm thinking of Milky Way there, who had a pretty good week for themselves. Optimus Gang continued to look very solid. They beat the Poppies and did so pretty convincingly. But Milky Way go from 0-3, I believe it was, coming into this week, to now sitting basically in the middle of the pack in the European Minor League.
I think a lot of it came down to Marcus's performance, playing a lot of Global Pressure Gods and just being able to stretch the map very thin for Milky Way to find these 2 victories. Now that concludes the first half of the split. What can they do off of that momentum from 2 wins? Because that could be a start of greatness for them.
And we talked about this a little bit going into that week, right? That really Milky Way's 2 of those 3 losses were against Optimus Gang and Insignum. And to be fair, no one's beating those guys right now except for each other. So, maybe Milky Way weren't as bad as we thought or weren't, that far down. And we kind of saw that on display. They won the back-to-back sets. They were able to make them happen. Now they're right there in the pack with Exordium, who struggled a little bit as well. So, really, to make it up to that top 3, that's where you want to be in the minor league. Milky Way absolutely have a chance to do it.
Whereas the top 3 in North America, very hotly contested now. Sanguine Classified and Armada Esports all sitting at 3 and 2.
Crazy.
Cryptic finally got on the board this week, but it wasn't pretty. It really does feel like a 3-team race in order for 2 spots. Very nice to me. They certainly feel like they've got that one basically wrapped up with how well they played.
It's no surprise, honestly. Wowie's team always seems to dominate no matter what split it is, honestly. Here in the fall split, I think a lot of it comes down to Emuel in the mid lane. He's been having a wonderful performance. I think his Morrigan is the standout character selection.
It's so impressive, too. Very nice to me. Haven't they had 2 roster changes at this point already, too? I was really worried for them when they lost a couple players out from their roster. They wouldn't be able to keep it up, but I've seen no slowing down from them so far. But you're right beneath them, it's just this clumped up pack, right? 2.0 get picked up. They're classified now. They're looking kind of good as well. Armada are on their way up there, too. It's hard to predict in North America.
How come I can't know the name of 2.0's new team?
It's redacted. It's classified information. I do have a email server you can check, though.
Oh, okay, cool. Is it secure or?
Nah, it's just my own thing.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Yeah, that's the way we like it. I will say that if for the teams that are looking to break that clump up, I'm looking at Armada. Benny Q on that team has looked very, very good as of late. He had a great performance. I believe he got a delayed pentakill this week on an Izanami pick. And that's kind of you're looking for these standout players, right, that are able to break that up. I'm looking at Benny Q for Armada right here.
And Benny Q is not only just a Hunter player, he's played the Assassins as well in that role, played the Kali, the one particular week 2 matchup, I believe it was. So when you have that kind of a player that can just flex his god pool in that role specifically, then how do you really ban against Armada? And I think there's a difference between banning some team out online versus the LAN. So if Armada can keep finding these wins, they get into a LAN environment, I don't think they get stopped.
And it's very different. It's best of ones. Let's be honest about it, right? It's a different type of way that they're able to find these wins sometimes. If you can get ahead a little bit early, if you can catch your opponents off guard, it is harder. So you have to adjust so much faster, I feel like, for these SML teams. And Armada, I think, is one of those teams that's done a good job of sort of capitalizing on that and sort of catching people off guard. Classified as well have done a good job of that, or 2.0, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly. So we'll see who has to go up against Benny Q and Armada as we take a look at the schedule for this next week. The minor league is going to have a really good one because that means Optimus Gang and Insignum get to face off again. That'll be on Thursday to kick off the day. So make sure you tune in at 11 a.m. sharp for that matchup. We've also got Very Nice to Me up against Armada, so a really good proving ground for them. Armada also does finish the day on Friday up against ranked All-Stars, and if you're going to be making top 3, those are the sets you need to win.
If Armada win both of their sets, they should definitely be feeling pretty about starting the second half split in such a dominating fashion. But I got to go back to this Optimus Gang Insignum matchup.
Oh, yeah.
Still undefeated as Optimus Gang Insignum, only losing to Optimus, and it's going to come down to the jungle matchup, Lasbra versus Johnny. Johnny known to play a lot of the Alquangs. Is this finally the time where Alquang gets banned against him? I think it must be done.
No, I'm right there with you, Tully. I think you're dead on to say that Optimus, as good as Optimus Gang are, it really feels like the thing that's kind of pushed them up in fall split has been Johnny's performance. He's been playing literally out of his mind at this point. And Insignum, they beat Optimus Gang up until now. It's just really that time earlier on in the fall split where they struggled. So if any team can do it, I know this Insignum roster can get it done, and I think that it's going to be around trying to limit Johnny's impact.
Again, Thursday and Friday, 11 a.m., that's where you can check out the Smite Minor League. Whereas the Smite Global Series, what we're going to talk about next, that can be found at 11 a.m. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, a.k.a. right after Esports Weekly. And here's what you missed out on last week. We saw Southeast Asia and Brazil get on my level, was able to beat Mashu Boys 2-1, whereas ETES Esports went 2-0 over Watch My Nene, and ETES beat Black Dragons the week before, so that is critical now. Or excuse me, that was No Ping who beat Black Dragons. I got my esports teams mixed up there in Brazil, but Brazil now, with Black Dragons dropping a game, feels a little bit more open.
It definitely feels like the rest of Brazil is finally catching up to Black Dragons. Now, even though they found a map over No Ping walking away cleanly with that set. So looking at the standings here for Brazil in particular, No Ping is the one on top, and they could be the ones representing Brazil coming for the HRX.
And it's not just there where there's some interesting. Take a look at LATAM and North. Why? So Serial up to this point have been a little bit uncontested. I feel like, at least out of the North region, they've had some troubles up against Nocturnes when they play. But now Loto Gaming is right there behind Why So Serial as well. So it's a lot of stuff to keep your eyes on. Nocturnes are continuing to look strong, of course, but around these regions, some of the representatives we've gotten used to seeing, we might be seeing somebody different.
It's getting down to the wire already, it feels like, for the Smite Global Series. Again, you can catch that right after Esports Weekly. That'll be at 11 a.m. That all brings us to the Smite Pro League, the SPL. And last week was one where things got, in some ways, went the way we expected.
Sure.
And in others kind of surprised us. And we can take a look at the standings or the schedule, whatever we've got from last week. But I really feel like North America feels a lot more open than I thought it would coming into last week.
I think we can definitely look at that particular Splice versus SSG matchup where a lot of analysts and a lot of fans at home definitely were favoring out Space Station with just their track record, being able to beat everybody minus E United, right? So
yes.
The fact that Splice walk away with a set here, and I think a lot of credit goes to the frontliners. It was Divios and Aurora that really made the impact in that set.
Yeah, it's Splice, I feel like, that are kind of shaking things up. They also were able to beat Trifecta. But the door, it's wide open. It really is now. CLG, maybe not looking as strong as we thought. Trifecta has some roster changes. They're looking a little bit different as well. Space Station not looking as dominant as before. So if you're not E United, then I don't think you have a ticket at all. It is not confirmed. You have got to try and win every single match right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that North America, again, you want to get in top 2. That means you don't have to go to the placement rounds. And
it's
you
huge.
just punch your ticket to DreamHack.
Yeah.
It gets you great seating. It's exactly what you need. And I don't know the second team out of North America right now. But we'll start in Europe. I think the standout match last week in Europe was Dignitas versus Obey.
Yeah.
In the sense that, yes, Dignitas won, which is kind of the expected result. At least it was for me. But Obey did impress me in this match. And I do think that Obey is becoming a real contender in Europe.
They've always been the wild card factor out of Europe, being able to find victories over Energy at times, over Rival now as well at the fall split, finding themselves one victory over Dignitas, very close to finding this set, still remaining undefeated. The black and yellow squad is just an outstanding fall beginning. I think they took the losses in the summertime to heart to be able to improve in such a dominating fashion, and when they are tested, they still pull through.
And to me, at least for Obey looking different here, it's got to be all about Prime, at least for me. He's playing so well for them on these immobile mages. That's kind of, I feel like, getting back to Prime's bread and butter, right? His positioning, being superb in those team fights, picking all the correct moments in them as well. When Prime is playing like the way that he's playing right now, then Obey are in that conversation for one of those top 3 teams, I think, without a doubt. It's just, can they keep him and the rest of the team playing at that level around?
It's going to be so much fun to watch this Obey team, and if they can continue to get back to the form that you really expect them to be in at the beginning of this season, I think it will make Europe that much more interesting, as if we needed more help there, because Europe has been an absolute blast to watch basically all season long. And now let's move to NA, where, like Toli said, Splice versus SSG. It was a very long game in Game 2 where it feels like SSG's got control and they kind of throw it away with one team fight. But this was a really hard-fought set on both sides.
And like I said before, it came down to both Divios and Aurora. Game 2, it was Divios playing Xing Chen, Aurora playing the Ardio. So there was just a lot of control, and a lot of teams are sleeping on Xing Chen, where I think that teams need to start waking up and realizing that against some of these double 100 compositions, against some of these hyper carry gods in the dual lane, that you need the Xing Chen with the Furious Roar, and that's what they did in game number 3. A lot shorter of a game. There was no comeback necessary. It would lasted only 24 minutes. Still got to give it to Divios and Aurora, but you can't count out Cyclone Spin. Game number 2 is playing the Shibalanke, which disrupts what Space Station wanted to do that whole time.
He also looked really good on that Izanami in the game where you said where they were so dominant, right? We've given Cyclone Spin, I feel like, a bit of a hard time over his God Pool because he doesn't play a lot of the same hunters that everyone else playing. But if my man is going to look like this on his picks, then let him pick him. I mean, he was such a big difference maker for them in that Game 3. But, I mean, what is going on with Space Station, too? I mean, they're starting to struggle a little bit, I feel like. Maybe they still haven't jived quite well with Venenu. They're in the middle lane. I've been saying for a while now, I feel like we need to see a little bit more out of Andenster as well. I mean, I just don't think he's been consistent. I mean, this team has some stuff they've got to clean up.
Very clearly so, and I do think that this was a close setup, and I think that Space Station, it hurts to lose this one, especially with how tight this top 2 race is going to be. But I do think that Space Station winning Game 1, by the way, Bear's highlight from that game that we just saw was just sick. And if he can play like that more consistently, I think Bear has had some consistency issues so far this split, and really in a lot of Season 5 in general. I think that Space Station walks away going, if we just don't throw that fight Game 2, we're in a much better position.
Right.
Because they earned it Game 2 through a really long Fire Giant team fight. They've actually got a team fight breakdown coming out about that soon. And
okay, yeah, plug it.
Yeah, I'm going to plug it. Finch, you got a problem with that?
No, not at all. Yeah.
Good.
You want to hear an SEO recap? Finch is doing those. How about that, aggro?
Why didn't you? I would have said that during the.
Oh, you didn't. You know I'm doing those. They're no secret.
I forgot.
I feel like the kid in a broken marriage right now.
Yeah, mom and dad are
just fighting.
Yeah, you can come with me, Tully. I'll take Tully.
It's gonna be okay, honey.
What's happening?
I love you more. Anyways,
okay.
Splice versus SSG went Splice's way. Trifecta versus Luminosity we've got next on the list. And this doesn't seem like a particularly big match to highlight, but I think it does say something about where the rest of NA is in just where Trifecta is in relation, because Trifecta just stomped Luminosity for the most part. Game 2 was very long, but it really felt like Trifecta was in control for the majority of it. It was really Paul in particular who dominated this set. And I think this set showed me, sure, Luminosity's at the bottom end of North America, but it still showed me that Trifecta is a real contender, I think.
They just remain to be aggressive, and when you have an Uller for Paul, one of his bread and butter gods in that mid lane up against Shadowchair's Opwash, a very immobile mage, it just makes it so much easier to find some of these kills. Scary D was playing lights out, Gino's playing this Naja support that's throwing LG for a loop, and I think that Luminosity on game number 2, I believe Weekend was playing the Arachne, which was very lackluster, unfortunately. Couldn't really make those plays happen.
And really, this set highlighted, as good as Paul looked, Shadowchair did not on the other side, right?
Yes.
I think that this has highlighted that LG still has some work to do as a team, I think, to fully integrate Shadowchair in and make sure that he's able to, fully perform with them. Because, yes, it's the Uller matchup. Yes, he's going to have that pressure there, but also just some positioning mistakes you can't make, right? When you know that you're going up against the Uller. In game 2, I think he looked better for what it's worth from that game 1 where things really got off the rails quickly. But still, I feel like that is one of those spots on LG they know they got to clean up.
Now, later on in the week, Trifecta did end up losing pretty heavily up against Splice, so you wonder how much of a contender they really are. I don't think that Trifecta is competing for top 2 here, but I do think Trifecta is a team that can surprise teams at the placement round.
It's very possible. I think that the LAN, anything happens. Just the god pool and the composition and the style of the aggression, if they have a committed early game strategy, that they can just run away with it.
No, I'm right there with you. I don't think Trifecta are out of it. And for what it's worth, outside of the top 2 absolutely still matters for where you are in the bracket and everything moving into the placement stage. So I agree that maybe they don't have top 2, but the difference between 3rd and 5th could be huge depending on who's on the other side. So they absolutely got to be fighting for every place they can get.
Completely agree. Let's take a look at the standings for where all these teams are sitting currently moving in towards this week 4. Dignitas still undefeated, by the way, 5-0, as is the United, 5-0.
Yeah.
And then every other team, 3-2 or worse so far. CLG sitting at 2-3. They're -1. Again, that plus-minus does end up impacting you. Both Luminosity and Trifecta sitting at 1-4, though Trifecta did just have that convincing set victory over Luminosity in that last week. SK sitting at 0-5, Mouse at 1-4, and we're going to go into Mouse Sports as a whole in just a little bit because we've got some stuff to talk about with that squad. But before that, we've got to do our top plays and top fails of the week, and for that, we've got F-Dot standing by.
It was good, folks. Mad fun last week. A lot of different picks going on, and of course, I'm going to celebrate it. Top 3 plays coming at you right now. Number 3, Adapted coming in hot. If he's going to play this character, I've got to show him some love. Thanatos came off the top, but honestly, this is much less about Thanatos and more about the team play. This is old-fashioned, just spacing control. Everybody blocking the Giannis portal. You got to love it. That's the clean stuff, just nice and easy. Now, here's the predictable part. Guess what happened last week? Aggro got his favorite. We got to see a warrior in the middle lane. Chalk mid was played, and Aggro loved it so much that he made me put it on the top plays. So number 2 is going to be Big Man Tings playing Chalk mid. It's actually really big impact. Check this out, early game rotation. Now he doesn't get this first kill, but he really gets that first kill. So this is basically a triple kill. He's able to hang out. He slows the entire team. 3-man silence. This was, that's just cool. That's just awesome. Real talk. Aggro didn't pick that. I picked that. In fact, I picked 3 separate Chalk mid highlights, but they told me that I could only have one. So that's what you got. Top play is not Chalk mid, unfortunately. Top play is going to be Venenu playing the Morgan, and sure, he gets some nice kills, but this is more about how sneaky he is. He gets to wiggle in and out of a team fight here and really flex out the invisibility. Let's take a look real quick and see Venenu getting away from the opposition. So here, this is just him being aggressive, right? Bang, gets 1 kill. But then he's going to go ahead and stay in the fight, go into Najah, and he's playing the Morgan. He does the changeling and all that nonsense, and then he gets punished, obviously, right? He's down below. He's going to get followed, and I love this after part. Here, watch. He gets jumped by a bunch of players, and he's in trouble, Aegis. But look how sneaky he is. He's going to go ahead and be invisible and just hide. Nobody knows. And then he sneaks his way out of there, and fun stuff. So 3 plays over there. Vidano able to get out, no problem. That's going to be my top play of the week. And of course, if we take a look at the good, we got to take a look at the ugly as well. Top fail coming through. This is Creeper Coon over in the solo lane, pulling the old Wolfie 2032, if you guys can remember. Let's take a look at the solo laner, teleporting back to his lane. But he forgot the key part about teleporting back to his lane. You want to back first. Here he just... boink! Oh, you hate to see it, except you really don't. It's so good.
I didn't even know my mic was on.
Yeah.
I just really felt like, oh no, whenever that happened.
No, that was so funny. I lost it. So that's going to be our top play. Agro's here. What's up, man?
Hey, I'm here. So is Finch. Anatoly had to take a nap.
Yeah.
Like he's our kid. It's a carryover bit from before.
No. Also, I noticed you didn't plug our podcast. You guys are up there plugging everything. You don't plug our podcast. I was yelling, plug our podcast. I
didn't hear you yell at all. Is that really a podcast? Like, is that what we're calling that?
I don't know what podcast means.
Okay.
But we talk for like an hour.
Yeah. Finch, any input on this? Is that a podcast?
We've yet to put it up in podcast form.
Okay,
that's true.
So probably not a podcast. Watch their show. It's on Saturdays at some time. They talk about some stuff. 2:00. There you go. Thank you very much. Okay, so we don't have an interview this week, but I think that we've got something better for you. Mouse Sports makes a big change, and I want to start there. So this whole last week, it's been Dardes playing Hunters in the duo lane alongside Spudio playing another Hunter, which, while we have the single on me right now, is unequivocally bad. Cool, got that out of the way. Now, however, they are replacing Spudio with, drumroll please, Dardes in that Hunter role. Now he actually gets to play the Hunters, Cheerio moving from jungle to support, and they put Frostiak in jungle. Guys, gut reactions.
It really does feel like they're doing kind of what you expect, though, right? In a weird way, because Dardes does kind of feel like they're carry sometimes, and Cheerio likes to play the Guardians in the jungle role. So it kind of makes sense, but I just don't know. I mean, do you think that even with these swaps, they're going to play traditional stuff? I don't know. I don't think that they are, even with the role swaps going through. So it's hard to judge it so far, but this is crazy. I don't think Spudio was the problem with this team. I'm surprised to hear he's not with this roster anymore.
I mean, Spudio was a fill-in. He was a long-time sub, and he comes through. And I agree. I don't think Spudio was the problem with this team. But at the same time, I think there was a ceiling with Spudio.
Sure.
And whether or not they had reached that ceiling, I guess, is a different conversation. But he definitely, with Dardes playing Hunters instead of even venturing into the support role, clearly the idea is that Dardes is a better player overall and can carry harder from that position. We'll see. Maybe the conversation was less about, this is also something, the possibility, maybe the conversation was less about Spudio needing to go and more about Cheerio being bad in the jungle, being moved over to support. Dardes moves over, and then I guess we'll take a Frostiak. You know what I mean?
It does mean in the end that they think that Frostiak is a better jungler than Spudio could make up, right? That you don't want to keep him on the team in any capacity. They couldn't put him there. And so, and to be fair, Frostiak's been playing in the jungle. He's been down in the minor league some as well, kind of keeping those reps in the gym and everything there. But I mean, it's just tough, isn't it? Like because if he came in and in summer, I think that they looked better with him for his part. It wasn't just that they looked good with him. He was also contributing. It just is tough when it ends up shaking out like that.
You're telling me that Spudio looked better when they were giving him ADC level farm and letting him play ADC by himself correctly. Okay, cool. I do want to read Big Man Ting's tweet longer, kind of the announcement, or at least parts of it. This will be a quote here. Sadly, this fall split and the weeks coming to the start of the fall split, we as a team have not been the same. We were having rough practice and the atmosphere wasn't the best, which has led us to our poor form in the fall split. As a team, we felt like a change was needed if we wanted any chance of having a shot at HRX. And then continued later on. It may seem sudden and possibly wrong to the outside eye. However, the confidence of all of us really hit rock bottom, as it probably showed in our last set versus Obey Alliance. However, we feel like this is the best option moving forward. We think this roster allows players to play their strengths and hopefully allows us to play more effectively and have better cohesion as a team.
That's that second or third to last sentence. This allows players to play their strengths. Cherio's strength is playing these supportive
But we've seen this before,
characters.
haven't we? Haven't we seen Cheerio support before?
And it was
We
fun.
have.
It's
No, it was not fine. The
That's what
last
I'm
time we saw
saying.
Cheerio support,
I
it
just
was
don't
bad.
know.
It was bad.
It was very bad.
Yeah.
But that was the beginning of season 4, I believe. So that was some time ago. Completely different support meta. But that was the beginning of a season, if memory serves, where theoretically he would have more ramp up time and time to adjust. This is a middle of the split change where your backs are against the wall. That's a lot of pressure. How well can you do in a role swap where you have to learn the whole role?
Yeah.
Dardez is, for all of his talents, not a teddy bear in that lane. We've heard lots of reports that he can be difficult to work with at times. If Cherio's doing something wrong, is Dardez going to be like, hey, bud, it's cool. Don't worry about it. Just do it this way instead. Is that the tone we're going to get? I think there's a lot of questions there for not just the team itself, but the way that how quickly they can actually adjust to this.
And I'm not saying that this is the ideal path or even an easy path, but technically they could lose the rest of the split, right? And still have a shot at making it. It would not be easy,
They go to placements.
but they certainly have that opportunity. So I guess even if they have to take these growing pains, and what better practice is there than up against the best in Europe, right? In all honesty, they still have a chance. And they're historically very good in LAN environments. Maybe even if they do take some L's here, they show us something on LAN, right? Trying the same thing out.
Cheerio does step up at LAN, but now shifting over to the support position. I feel you on the ramp up time, but something that I was very adamant about when they were playing that kind of nonsense composition. Cheerio is playing support in the jungle, and I think that the laning phase will be a little bit different. But I feel like obviously they've been scrimming for a little bit with it. Like that has to have happened at least once. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So between the pro level experience of starting in the jungle but playing support overall and a couple of laning phases in the scrim time, I'm not saying he's coming in looking like Jeff Hamlet today or tomorrow, but I think that it's probably not step one for Cheerio. I am less concerned about Cheerio in support and honestly more concerned about Frostiak in the jungle. I have never once in all of his years of playing Smite been truly impressed with Frostiak, and it's the reason that I bring up such a scathing commentary is really because if you're going to make a roster change, to me, like I feel like this is swapping out something low for something low, like a Spudio switch for Frostiak. I need to see it on the field because on paper it doesn't make any sense to me.
Fair enough. We'll have to wait and see what Mouse Sports is going to do. They play up against Dignitas later on today, so we'll get a chance pretty soon to see how good Mouse can be, and we also might get a chance to see how good Pele can be. Pele available now.
That's true.
In week 4. Do we think we'll see her? Will she be top priority? What do you guys expect?
I expect to see her, and I do expect her to be a top priority. I think she's going to be very valuable in the jungle, especially here at this SPL level. There is some chance, I think, for her to get punished maybe in like your ranked games, is a late game. But I mean, her ability to just farm early is not matched very often, especially with Najad not being valued quite as much, right? Her pace that she makes through the jungle is going to be very difficult to keep up with, and I think SPL teams can absolutely capitalize on that.
I think junglers specifically like Annister and Scream. These guys really like to set the bar. They like to be the first actor, right? I think junglers like that will take advantage of Pele. Her movement speed is, like a wheelish status with her third ability and the ability to just ramp up and go faster. So I think that that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, and I don't know if And I don't want to make it sound like I think Pele's going to be 100% in the jungle either. We've seen some Pele in some other roles too. I mean, she doesn't have the world's worst clear available to her too, and her rotations can be pretty impactful. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Pele. I'm for sure we're going to see Pele. I wouldn't be surprised if we see her in places that aren't just the jungle either, because she throws out the first ability, it comes back and clear the wave through. It's pretty nice. I mean, she's got some tools at her disposal. She can be pretty strong in those mid game fights as well. I would not be surprised if we see her.
Yeah, and we've seen, because my mind of reading, like why would you play a Pele solo? But I think it's a similar conversation to Kamazotz, where you're playing like a Blood Death Knight, where you're not necessarily tanky, but your lifesteal is so incredibly high, her passive, when she goes down low, that you are theoretically tanky effective health, and it gets all mathy, but you're staying alive by lifesteal, right? So I think that's an element where Pele could be thought of as the solo later, but she's not a she doesn't strike me as one of these characters. Like Baron came on the scene, and despite the fact that he was a mage, like clearly he's going to be in the solo lane. I don't think that's necessarily the case with Pele. I think she can totally be played there, and Kiki might do it, but I don't really see the average solo laner approaching the game and going, "Oh, Pele, that's my thing."
Yeah, I can agree with you there. I think that Pele reminds me of Susano when Susano first came out, in the sense that I don't feel like I'm really in position in mid lane against Pele ever, because Pele will, the drums will start playing, she'll come screaming out of the jungle, and I'm like, what do I do? Like, she's just so much faster than you all the time. I just buy Bumba's mask is the real answer to that question.
Oh, then you can be even faster.
Also very fast. But then she buys Bumba's mask, and then she's extra fast, but she's still faster than me at base, and then I do take more damage.
I mean, she goes so fast.
It's such a, I mean, she has that big AoE knockup too, right? I feel like we kind of bury the lead a little bit onto. I mean, yes, her steroid, where she uses that field move around is very cool, but I mean it's huge inside a team.
And it does
fight.
a lot of damage.
It does. It is not. It's when she has that steroid going as well, right? And then she's able to come in and drop down. It's so much damage. And maybe if she's like ganking you, it doesn't feel as impactful. It can be kind of slow for it to radiate out, but I think the biggest impact for it, aside from like blink initiations, really is going to be in those team fights when there's so much going on. You can't keep track of it as it's spreading out, because there's a million half other things you already think about, and your team can capitalize on that window.
She's similar to a lot of characters that have poor team fights, which is very interesting, right? The idea that she's going to single target somebody, right? And with the lifesteal, even the ultimate is very single target based, but then she's got the 2 and the AoE damage. It feels like she kind of does both things.
Right.
So I'm selecting her in a Naja sort of way, but then she has access to the knockup and everything, and it's kind of scary. So I am not. I'm afraid of sounding silly here, but I'm not sure. I'm not certain that she's going to be first pick, first ban.
Sure.
But I think she'll be valuable.
Sure. Yeah. Excited to see what she brings. That, man, those cone auto attacks after the ultimate
so
short,
cool,
it
right?
only hits one target, but those things swing and do a lot of damage throughout the team fight. I'm excited. I hope we see a big play with that volcanic lightning and the auto attacks afterwards. I'm super excited about it. Thanks, guys. It's time for us to move on to the meme video. We like memes.
I hate that word.
Is that something that we do? Do we do those?
Can we not say that word anymore?
Yeah, it's memes.
Is that cool? No memes?
Memes.
Like it, put a ring on it. And that's exactly what Elevate don't want to do, to give Boronic the Zeus option.
That combo is so old. Anatoly played it in the Pro League.
Stop.
Looking for Neximus. Left side has Mr. White. Layers of Death in the sky. They're all clumped up. Mr. White's going to be the target, but he jumps over the double hammer. Now, here comes the Suns. Doo-doo-doo-doo.
I guess you could kind of use it as a baiting tactic, but in a more mannerable fashion, you can shut down the Rama and help the Freya get ahead to actually make these Gold Furies more meaningful.
I was agreeing with you, and then I just started doing the robot.
The robot? And you dropped your pen.
I did drop my pen.
I see your spaghetti falling out of your pocket
Oh,
as well.
my goodness. I just, you dropped your pocket. I got a good one. You want to hear a good joke?
No.
Knock, knock.
I'm not doing this, Tom.
No. Knock, knock.
I'm not doing this, Tom. All right, who's there?
Euripides. He's like a famous god or philosopher.
Okay, Euripides who?
Euripides? Euphixades.
Sure. So no harm, no foul, right? It's no big
out.
deal. Well, they actually are foul because they're the ducks, and ducks are fouls.
Birds of a feather, I imagine everyone on playing ducks as they all flock together towards a pretty nice composition. Naja.
I can't remember why I'm lying here tonight, and I can't stand the pain, and I can't make it go away. No, I can't stand the pain. How could this happen?
Go for the Titan. Get your W right here, Cryptic.
They're going for it. The first win on the table for Cryptic. And Oswald respawns and obliterates Met Yankee. And we are going to be here for another week.
Minions on the left side. Phoenix can't do the job. Oswald here to play defense. 54 minutes, and we have 50 collective kills between the two of them. And my golly gee willikers, is this a barn burner aggro or what?
I'll go with or what. The 7th Fire Giant isn't down yet, Tolly.
You're right.
We're still 6 Fire Giants away from it really being a true barn burner.
Everybody just looking to try and catch up to In Control, but they are, in fact, the ones who are in control, sitting pretty at that 2-0.
You proud of that one?
I am.
You are?
All the time.
I'll give you a little high five. There we go. High five. There you go. So this time I've been given an actual 30 seconds to close. So I'm going to take as much time as possible. Taco, what was your favorite part of the day?
I like the color green and otters.
Also, not really what I
An answer
asked.
to your question in the slightest.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you tomorrow. We love you. Peace. And much love to you.
That was something, huh? I love how the first half of that video is one set. It's just Astral versus Elevate from last week. That was an absolute treat. Then Anatoly and I had a long one. That's kind of where I'll end that. But it's time to get to the SPL predictions for this next week. For that, as always, Hindu Man and Taco.
Hi.
Taco, it's a different day, but do you still like the color green and do you still like otters?
Actually, I love the color green and otters.
Okay. All right, cool.
So.
Green's my favorite color too, actually.
We get out of the memes and they continue.
It never stops here. Only the spiciest survive in Smite.
I guess so.
Did you not read the lower third? This week in the SPL is going to be a really big one. A lot of rematches from previous weeks, but let's take a look at how we did last week in our predictions. And please, God, let me be
off. Oh, no, wait, I'm still winning? Is that what's happening?
It's all right.
Am I still on top?
It's all right. Okay, so I got one wrong up again for Mouse Obey. That one was on me, for sure. Taco predicted Luminosity over CLG. She got that one wrong. Graham, it looks like you had a pretty good week.
It's not hard.
Oh, yeah?
I actually just let you guys catch up a little bit, you know. That's what I try and do. But
Right.
then, you know, it doesn't work out for you because you spitball about silly ideas like Mouse is going to win a game.
Wait,
Did you
who
just
said
go
Mouse?
full Mr. Krabs on me
I was
right there?
really, I'm sorry. The news about Mouse today has just made me lose it this morning where I'm like, okay, that's where it's going to be.
That really was full Mr. Krabs. And Taco is KO'd. All right, let's take a look at our predictions for this week so that we can try and recover for a moment here. This is our European predictions. We look pretty much the same across the board except for Taco with the spicy Obey pick. I love how Taco's always good for one spicy pick.
She is.
She
always gets it
gotta
wrong,
mix it up a
too.
little bit. Yeah, at least I put myself out there.
It's true. No, you know what? I respect it.
Just like Mouse.
I truly do. Well, in some ways. Look, in Europe, we saw this week already, week one. It'll be the same thing in North America. The big matchup, it feels like, is going to be Energy versus Rival so far.
Yeah, and this matchup is definitely one of the biggest ones. I mean, Energy looking really strong. Rival on the downtrend for me. They've still not performed to the standard that we expected of them coming out of the World Championships. It kind of started to drift towards the end of spring, and then it really drifted towards the end of summer. Now we're in fall, and the other teams have caught up. The other teams in Europe have really started to match pace and actually supersede what Rival have to offer right now.
I don't know if I would necessarily call it a catch-up in a sense. I think that with the fall split kind of right around the corner and a lot of teams understanding that this is one of the contingency factors is being in the top two to make it into Worlds. I think that for Rival, they know that they still have a valid opportunity to try and reach that threshold, except I just feel as though some teams are kind of still withholding a little bit on us. I don't feel like we've really seen everything from every part of Europe.
I will say, though, I think that's going to be different now, though, because we're 3 weeks in. This is week 4, halfway point, and only the top 2 teams will automatically go to DreamHack direct. They don't have to play in the placement round, part of the World Championships. 2 members get all the way. And that's when you're going to start to see these matches be really impactful, because only the top 2 can make it.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really close for that top 2 in Europe and in North America at this point. But it feels like Dignitas is the one in Europe. I mean, they're sitting at 5-0 coming into this week. Energy trying to catch up right now at 3-2. So all of us have Energy going over Rival. How about Energy versus Dignitas later on in the week?
That one's going to be an interesting one. I believe as well. I actually have Dignitas down because they're still undefeated. And you can't really go wrong with them being undefeated.
Dig have just been doing such a fantastic job that I was pretty torn on trying to make the decision here, because you really never know which side of Rival or Energy you're going to get when playing against Dignitas, because I feel at times Energy just has Dignitas read like the back of their hand, and then in others it's a complete 180. It's almost as though Energy have no way to possibly breach the defenses of Dignitas.
I think the online portion, Dignitas are going to be one of the stronger teams. They generally are online. The problem is when they get to lands, and we'll discover that later on. But I think this matchup specifically, you have to go with the hot hand, and the hot hand really is Dignitas, still undefeated. They've dropped a game or 2, but not a set this split. That says a lot, especially coming off the back of what happened in Summer 2.
Yeah, it's true. I do think that this is going to be... This is the game in Europe I struggled with the most, for sure, on who I was going to pick. Dignitas, I agree that they'll probably keep their undefeated streak going, but Energy does like to step up for these sorts of games, and I could certainly see them putting an L in Dignitas' record. Before we move on from Europe, you've been talking a lot about this mouse roster change.
You don't want to do this. You don't want to do this.
Is it fair to say that you aren't feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?
Fans at home, right, in YouTube, close your eyes for a second, yeah?
Okay.
Now, think about this, okay? When your eyes are nice and closed, just have a nice... Yeah, that's right, good job. Think about this. You're halfway through the split. You've got Mouse Sports roster, okay?
Sure do.
Your following games over the next 3 weeks are, this week you've got Dignitas.
Yeah.
Next week you've got Energy.
Oof, okay.
The week after that you've got Rival and Obey.
Ooh, we don't like that.
Now, while you've got your eyes closed, now think what the best case scenario you could do to put yourself in a good position to be in good standing for Worlds. And you know what that decision is that you come to?
Put 2 hunters in the duo lane.
Frostiak in the jungle and Cherio in the support role.
I had to wake up.
And Dardes in the hunter role.
Yeah.
3 changes with 3 weeks to go in the year, and you think this is going to... Southeast Asia right now are going to place off against number 5 in EU. Now, SK is so far behind right now. Southeast Asia could win their first game against Europe. You know why? Because it's going to be against Mouse.
Okay. I don't know if I'm ready to go.
It's their best chance is what I'm saying.
It is probably their best chance.
Ever. Yes. Period.
Get on my level. Better start ramping up now.
I guess the only real confusing part to me about it is that it does feel a little bit sporadic from the team. It doesn't feel properly thought out. Maybe something that they tested a couple of times in different scrim sets and figured, well, this has had better results than everything else we've tried so far in the fall split, so let's just take our chances and bank all of this in our Worlds run. But there's already been so much of a shakeup happening from the North American teams, and you can kind of see already how it's deteriorated the level of play, I would say, in North America's Pro League. But I almost feel like Mouse are just perfectly accepting of their chances, even if it does end up being a slight detriment for the team's synergy in the long term. If they feel that it's a better choice, well, then maybe Frosty still got it.
Sure.
Maybe. He's going to be involved in First Blood, one way or the other.
Yeah, he's either giving it or taking it.
That much we know.
They are basically handing North America the 4th spot at Worlds.
Maybe they'll turn up.
No, I don't see that happening. Yeah, I really don't. I think AU is going to send 4 teams, NA is going to send 4 teams.
Yeah, could be, certainly. Let's take a look at North America and our picks for this week before we move on to do that. Oh, excuse me, we actually missed one that we wanted to talk about.
Oh, Mouse Dig?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's Rival.
We did that.
It's Rival Obey.
Oh, that's a good one.
Obey,
that's a really big one.
As you said, Rival, it feels like are on the downtrend a little bit. Obey Alliance, on the other hand, certainly on the upswing. They lost to Dignitas last week, but it was close, and they gave Dig really a run for their money. Do you think these 2 teams are passing each other right now, with Rival going down and Obey going up?
I actually think this will go 3 games. I've still got Rival winning this one right now, but I can't count Obey out, because Obey have been bringing their usual style back.
See, just like you were mentioning with Dignitas, you got to play off the hot hand, and I think that was my decider for this set. I think that while Rival and Obey are both capable of beating the other, I just feel like Obey has that slight edge right now. They seem a little bit better put together for the fall split.
This picks and bans. That's why he's going to come down to. That's why I think he's going to go all 3 games as well, because these 2 teams are generally evenly matched, but it's who gets their comp right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who managed to get the comp that they're after to try and get the execution that they want to do. We've seen both these teams have good times and bad times when they haven't got their comps.
Sure. Yeah, both teams have had really very lackluster games at times, but have also had opportunities to look very, very good against the top teams in their regions. We'll see which version of Jekyll and Hyde for both of these teams ends up showing up this week, but I do think that Obey, if they can win this set, really put themselves in a position to compete for not just going to DreamHack, but going to DreamHack with a lot of momentum and potentially a very good seed. It does feel like this team is starting to put the pieces together, but I'm just not ready to pick them yet.
Loser of that one probably has to come to placements. That's kind of where I'm at. That's how big this game is that whoever doesn't make this will not make top 2 EU.
I don't think either of these teams are missing placements. But I think that it's going to be Dig Energy.
I think that one of them is definitely out of the race after this set. The other one could still potentially make it, but I think whoever loses this is definitely placements.
Well, it's especially if Rival loses this and loses to Energy. They are all but guaranteed to not make top 2 at that point. So this is a big week for Team Rival coming up. Okay, now it's time to move on to North America and see our predictions over there and what we've got coming in this week. We've got E United up against Space Station. All of us the same across the board.
So I'm pretty sure, like, me and you got exactly the same this week, Aggro?
Yes, you and I are the same.
So I guess you're going to be even with me for a week.
No, I want to. Can I change something? Is that too late?
No. Oh, only if you vote for Mouse to beat Dig.
No. I'll do. I'll choose one in NA. How about that?
Are you trying to swap up with your Splice in LG or your Trifecta?
No, that's not fair.
No, I'll take Trifecta over
SSG,
CLG.
SSG, cool, good call. That's a good one.
No. I said CLG.
So you want it on the record, Trifecta over CLG?
Correct. On the record, even though, just so I can switch it up from Hindu Man a little bit.
Okay.
E United versus Space Station is obviously the matchup to watch, though, in North America this week. This is another measuring stick for Space Station. They got, frankly, blown out week 1 of the fall split after the roster changes. How well has Space Station adjusted to Venenu being on the roster? Can they match up against the unquestionable best team in North America?
I think the big thing between these teams, though, is in week 1 we expected E United would be the one with the plug and play a little bit more, I'd say, with Baskin coming in there. I expected them to do well against Space Station. Round 2, this really is the test for Space Station. Can they defeat E United here? I don't see it, but there is a chance they could look stronger. This is a real litmus test. Yeah.
I just need to see some consistency from Space Station. I feel at times we see some of their greatest moments, and then we also see some of the worst attempts at sieging. And it's just so back and forth at times that it feels so I don't want to say unsettling. That's the word I'm looking for. Whenever you're watching a Space Station set, it's just got to be one of the most unsettling feelings in the world as like a fan, both as a player and even to the public eye, just because you really never know what is going to happen next with those guys. And I think that is what made me decide to go for E United in the end, because I do feel like we've actually seen that continuous momentum from E United. They haven't seemed to really let up in the slightest, and I think there's been enough questionable moments from Space Station in their sets so far this fall that I am not quite prepared just yet for them to take this one home away from E United. I think, if anything, we probably look for this matchup at Worlds.
This Worlds matchup, certainly a potential one from North America, though both teams trying to punch their ticket without having to go to the placement stages. That's the big thing.
Probably make it, too.
Probably could. We've talked a lot about placement stages and DreamHack Atlanta and all that kind of stuff, but you don't have to worry about finishing top 2. You can just go to highresexpo.com and buy your tickets. It's November 16th
Mouse went there.
through the 18th. Or what was that?
Mouse went there.
They went to
I tweeted it earlier. They went to highresexpo.com and went, you know what? We'll do this roster change and book our tickets now between the 16th and 18th and be in the crowd to make sure they can attend the World Championships live in Atlanta.
Well, hopefully they're able to make it to the after party as well, because that is on November 18th. It's hrxafterparty.eventbrite.com.
They might do some roster changes by then, so you might not be the same team.
Well, you don't all have to go to the after party.
That's
I mean,
fair.
you'd be a fool to go to HRX and not go to the after party. But
makes sense.
You could end up going there. Thanks so much for watching Esports Weekly this week. Again, it's going to start happening on Tuesdays, which is today, by the way. So this day, every week. Yeah, cool. It's Tuesday. We got Global Series right after this. You excited for that?
Tuesday.
Hell yeah. I'm more excited for my second set today at SPL. It's going to be good.
Mouse Sports versus Dig. That's
the
second set today. SPL starts at 1. SGS starts at 11, which is right after this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.
shake. Watch me rockin' if I can't stop. If I should fall, just go ahead. Go and catch me, baby. Turn it up, turn it up. 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 Join in. You better grab that tambourine. Bring the bass, we might be wicked. We may be forced to cause a scene. Make some trouble, baby. Turn it up, turn it up. 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 Turn it up, turn it up.
Welcome to the Smite Global Series. Finch and Taco here, taking a look at Southeast Asia in particular. And I always like, Taco, when we get to take a look at some of these Southeast Asian teams, because they always play, I feel like, with just unbound aggression, it feels like, right? They just fighting all the time. I love it.
Sometimes it's a little bit unwarranted, but at other times it is a lot. It's a bit of a treat to see. It's just nonstop fighting a lot of times. But I do feel as though they tend to adapt a bit of a similar playstyle as some of the more actually from console. It kind of reminds me a lot of console with a lot of action happening all the time. And I love getting to watch them see it. So you can be sure there's going to be sparks flying. But the real big fireworks, those are going off in November at HRX at DreamHack. I actually might be in trouble. Do we have fireworks there? I just kind of made that lie up just now. We might not have any. We might need to have some now, Finch.
That's right.
You kind of just promised that to everybody back at home.
All right, I'll go out and get some. I'll get some sparklers or something, and we'll light those up. November 16th through 18th. Go to highresexpo.com. In all seriousness, you absolutely want to make sure that you're here at DreamHack. If you're a Smite fan, Paladins fan, just an esports fan in general, it's a huge event. Everyone's going to be there. It's a ton of fun. You just got to make sure you get there.
And don't forget, it's not just the actual event that you have to be paying attention to. There's also the after party that's going to be taking place. The stuff after the stuff that we're always talking about. It's your chance now to really get to witness what it's really all about.
Yeah, this is where everyone's kind of having their ties are a bit loose and everyone's just having a good time hanging out, playing tons of games, having fun, just meeting all your favorite personalities, streamers. We're all there. Players are there too. Some of them may be like a little bit sad at some of the things that happened earlier on in the event, but everybody's having a good time. It's just a lot of fun. You want to make sure you're there for the after party. If you're at DreamHack, go to this after party. There's no reason not to.
You know, it's something I get a lot, though, every time we go to Worlds. Is always the same comment. I thought you would be taller in person.
She's not.
I'm not.
And you'll find out if you go. You'll get to know for yourself how tall Taco is. We're cheating right now. Reason some.
Yeah,
some
we don't talk about that.
Oh,
part,
right.
This is all me,
I'm
baby.
squatted down. That's right. That's what it is. That's what's happening here. But let's go ahead and talk about this next matchup here that we're going to be looking at today, Taco. This is going to be Get On My Level going up against the Subs. Let's see where those teams are currently shaking out in the Southeast Asia region. Get On My Level up there at the top. No big surprise. But the Subs, with a very similar logo right there behind them.
A lot of craziness taking place, though, so far in a lot of these global standings, and it's really interesting stuff to see. Some very familiar faces, of course, looking at Nocturnes, Why So Serio, even Athletico, but I think that there's something to be said about Get On My Level. When they came here for the Summer LAN, it felt like they were still a little bit incomplete, but the international experience is only going to further benefit over time, and I think that Get On My Level, that's what they're introducing to Southeast Asia. The play overall, I think, has elevated a certain extent.
It looks like
in C, and I think it's largely due to the fact that you've got members from Get On My Level just coming back, scrimming, bringing that sort of player knowledge to the other teams.
And they have some slightly different looks as well from what we've seen before, so not just some of that knowledge, but even players kind of spreading out throughout the region, making the whole thing more competitive. But it feels like a bit of a grudge match between these two, right? Whose logo is it truly? Is the question that will be getting answered as we move into this matchup. Get On My Level going to be the first pick selection. I believe the last time we saw Get On My Level play, they had to play a couple matches without Get On My Level, the player. The namesake for the org.
And I think that's where a little bit of the fun comes into the mix, because you never really tell what's going to happen in terms of roster shakeups and the like, and I think that as unpredictable as teams can be with their playstyle in games, the same way for seeing what happens with some of this roster apocalypse.
That's right. We'll see how it ends up working, if everything, exactly who's where and how it's going to shake up here as we move into this matchup. I predict we'll get to see a lot more of this, though. Pele already banned out by the substitutes. Not too big of a surprise, I don't think, there, but when stuff kind of ebbs and flows, moves in and out, that means the likes of a Chernobog can suddenly make it through, because you got to ban Erlong and Robin.
I always have to keep in mind whenever the new guys finally, they hit the rank scene first, and then after a little bit, they're permitted into competitive play. For anybody back at home wondering, well, why wouldn't she pick when she was first released? And that's the reason why. It's got to give a little bit of a waiting period to see where those guys truly stand and figure things out. But getting back on track here, I love seeing Get On My Level with the Chernobog and the Athena picks. I think that those are two awesome global ultimates already solidified for the team, and more importantly, still a heavy amount of control and damage.
Yeah, they have a ton of that going their way. Right now, everybody on their team can get up in the air and crash down somewhere else, can't they, on that Get On My Level roster. So it's going to be tough for subs, I feel like, to keep up with it. But they've got some good stopgaps on that, right? The Kepri coming in, reviving whoever it is they try and drop down on. But I mean, into the Thanatos, it is tough, I guess.
Into the Thanatos, it's a little bit questionable. I'm not too sold on this Kepri pick. I feel as though subs could have probably held off for something a little bit more ideal for combating a
I'll just revive the other guy. You execute that one, I'll revive the other guy. You know?
It'll be a fake. That's right. It's just a feint.
That guy's bait. He's already an execute threshold. Let him die.
That's a sacrificial lamb. It's fine. We know we're not gonna have to be playing with him for the rest of the fight. So
yeah.
Well, we'll see how that one works out for the substitute. It's a bold move, Finch. I'll admit it.
Yes.
But I got to see how it plays out for them, though.
It is a bold move indeed. I like that they are going to ban away at least the other one with the Ao Kuang, right? Not going to let them have two is the idea here. Also, good on my level, banning away some junglers as well. So not quite trusting that they have their jungle on the board yet, even with the Raw, Morgan, and Freya all here. So I guess we might be seeing Morgan in the solo lane based on there. There's a lot of options for where the substitutes might go.
One big concern I also have outside of the Khepri issue for subs is that it doesn't feel as though their follow-up is really in unison with each other. You've got Raw, Morgan, and Freya. These guys feel a little bit awkward just stand alone, and having the Odin as the last part of their draft, I understand you want the Odin for the anti-heal cage against the Hell, but how many times, Finch, have we seen it where teams take an Odin because it seems like an ideal pick, but without the proper follow-up inside of that ring, you're just stuck with an Odin. That's it. He doesn't really do a whole lot more other than provide an opportunity for your team to capitalize on.
And it's going to be the Odin. Looks like going over to the solo lane, which is another thing I was curious about. This is because that's where the Hell's going to be, right? To try and give him that matchup up against the Hell in particular, but Sir Eclipse could be potentially comfortable in that middle lane now without having to worry about it. They've got the Baron there in the middle lane for this team to get on my level. So a lot of interesting selections from them just right out the gate. We're going to have to see how they end up working because right now, Get on My Level has some strong picks.
And Sir Eclipse going to be helping out Aving Love on the speed buff just at the start, but this is something we don't really get to see as often, Finch. It's a Baron, but not where you'd expect.
No.
We've been seeing so much Baron support and solo, and now we're finally getting a little bit of chance to see what Baron can do from the mid lane. And I actually really like this matchup into the Freya. While Freya might have a little bit more burst and poke and control initially, I think that the Baron's consistent slows can become extremely problematic for this Freya over time.
We'll have to see how well he's able to do. There might be some mana concerns as red buff is looking to be stripped away by too bad morphine, but now getting body blocked. This Khepri is too large to squeeze his way through here. Shell had to come out to try and keep him alive, but he ends up getting rooted as well. First blood for Maker Love, and now Nevermore is in some trouble as well.
Beautiful job by Hickey there just to keep the Khepri confined to that one space. The body blocks could not have been better placed, and well, Icky and Maker, they're going to make some good stuff happen over there because First Blood for Get on My Level just opens up the map pressure so much further for Aving.
And it is going to be a bit of a problem for them now over here in this dual lane where the Chernobog was already probably going to be having not too hard of a time clearing. He can clear so quickly once he gets one or two abilities online. That's only going to get worse now. They have to worry about the taunt as well. The roll comes out second for Nevermore, so he is able to retreat. Things might be a little bit harder for him.
Keep in mind, though, Hickey doesn't have that first ability, the dash not available, so he won't be able to close the gap anytime soon, so Morphine won't have to worry about any immediate dashes into taunts. So that's a positive. Khepri's going to get a chance here to hit level 2, but more importantly, look at Excuse hovering this jungle side, looking to get a return gank off and maybe alleviate some of the pressure that's already been applied into duo.
That would be much appreciated, but it looks like he is turning back. Apex in a little bit of trouble up against Inuyasha here in the solo lane. In fact, he might certainly be in danger of getting solo killed. Inuyasha finds it, brings him down. That's Apex going back to base in the first kill for the substitutes.
Now Excuse going to be aggressing onto Aving. He was looking for the invade, trying to connect the death side for that big chunk of damage, but they got to remember there's a Freya right behind them.
And getting him plenty of damage, but now Freya running into the problem where she's low on mana. Has to get in melee range to try and heal back up. It's Sir Eclipse, that's the target. Aegis lets him immune some damage, but now comes the turnaround. Big heal and the death side lands. A little bit of movement speed, but a Bing can't quite keep up.
But Haloko has been buying so much time here. Now might have a chance to take down Aving all by himself. Aving just barely clinging onto life, but the blink will manage to get him into safety. Keep in mind, though, Inuyasha made the rotation because this engagement has lasted for way too long.
It's been such a long time from Get on My Level that they've committed to this, and yeah, Excuse not going to have any trouble cleaning that one up once he heads back towards that mid lane. But this is what we were talking about, Taco. They just love to fight early on from this Southeast Asia region, and it looks like a Bing undeterred will get a buff successfully invaded, just the red buff, not the speed. In fact, now he's going to live for purple.
Great job from Alu, by the way, just to keep wrapping down that mid lane tower, looking to cut off Sir or Eclipse the moment that he came back into the lane. And I like it. Morgan had the mark, and that's the additional damage that Paolo needed to confirm it.
Silence is going to catch him in the middle of the dash. Beads used by Nevermore. Too bad Morphine Shell underneath the tower keeps him alive, being almost body blocks a KE, but he makes it out of there as well. So too bad Morphine just barely going to make it out of there in the back end of that. It has been just a ton of swinging back and forth already.
It was a great thought process, though, from Hickey. Set up Abing about as well as he possibly could have there for the last hit, but even with the shell, the creep wave was able to save Too Bad there, no problem. And, well,
he's up in the air.
He's just got a split farm.
He's up in the air, hovering. Death is going to bring the hurt onto Morphine. He's going to find the stun. Scythe to follow it up. Defender of Olympus is going to come in now to try and even these numbers out. But Excuse is here. Finds the stun. Immediate follow-up. But it's Too Bad Morphine, who's in a little bit of trouble. Hikaye chases him down and finds the kill. Support on support violence.
Great job by the Athena there as well to just fully punish out that kill. And not a whole lot that he could have possibly done.
Yeah.
Morphine just got caught out.
Wow. That is the back to end all backs there as he just barely makes it away from Excuse on that Morrigan somehow, but he's A-okay.
Also, Blink Athena. We really don't see Blink Athena as often, at least not for the initial Relic start.
Right.
We're more accustomed to the sprints and the shell, so a rather unique Relic choice here for Hikaye?
Hikaye, I assume it is, as they drop down the cage. Inuyasha's made the rotation. Inuyasha's found a nice, easy kill onto the immobile maid. Sarah Clip's going to have to take a seat, at least for a while, as the rotation from the solo laner proves fruitful.
I'm relying on you here, Finch, to outweed me, by the way.
I'm trying my best.
Athena in a little bit of trouble. Life of the party, though, going to be avoided thanks to a quick dash. But Abing seems like he was able to drop that red buff in time. And sure enough, the subs, they were so focused on looking at picking off the Athena, they forget to defend their own jungle.
It does mean that Abing can come over and one more time complete the invade. It's what he's been looking to do all game long and put him in a very good spot. Compare him up against Excuse, who's their jungler in this Morgan for them. And she's been doing some ganks, or Excuse rather, has been looking for these gank attempts, going into the stealth, trying to find those stuns, but hasn't been quite as impactful so far as a Bing has in the jungle.
What I want to know is who's taking speed from Get On My Level. Abing has clearly wanted this red buff every single time. He's been consistently frame-based. Hold that thought, though, because now it's going to be Nevermore under a little bit of duress here. Ends up rolling away just fine. Maker unable to properly punish, but a great taunt there from Hikaye.
And well-timed, too, because Nevermore didn't have beads. They're just now coming off cooldown as well, so almost able to find it as Hollow in some trouble here in the middle lane. Avoids getting hit by that consigned spirits. Defender of Olympus is here to try and help out. Inuyasha has jumped into 3. Hovering Depth, waiting for an execute target. Sir Eclipso will be the one that ends up falling. They trade it out by grabbing the Odin.
Keep in mind, though, you finally got Apex coming around the backside. Massive burst from the hell. Apex with a quick and easy follow-up, but Alico is still alive.
All right, he does eventually end up falling, and all is right with the world, but a big rotation out of Apex from the hell in the solo lane ends up being fruitful for them. The root does land onto a Bing, but Hikaye perfectly is holding the aggro for the tower. The Scarab's Blessing comes out on himself. Nevermore does find 1 kill, but his life gets traded out equally, and Too Bad Morphine somehow makes out. No, he doesn't. Blink from a Bing finds the kill with the Scythe.
That's all he was waiting for the whole time. That's why he took that aggressive pathing up through the T1 tower, and just like that, Get On My Level, establish dominance all across the board, because when you're wiping 4 members from subs that quickly, and I think actually everybody from subs, it was an unofficial deicide.
They definitely got a lot of kills there. It's a lot of it to keep track, but you're right. Underneath the tier 1 tower this early in the game with all this early pressure kind of just showing, hey, you guys don't want to fight us right now. We have a Thanatos, remember, and he's making it work. Eclipse has kind of been the bait on the end of the fishhook, I would say, so far, the sacrificial lamb for Get On My Level, but it's worked out for them so far.
I mean, it's kind of, somebody has to die for these exchanges. Sure. Someone must pay, because Get On My Level have been getting away with absolute murder, I feel.
Yeah, if you're going to be full degenerate status, someone's got to...
It's just the grouping and the positioning from subs. They've got to check themselves inside of those narrow jungle corridors. You see the Thanatos go up into that hovering death. You can't have 2 members standing right on top of each other. That was the only reason why Abing was able to pick off Inuyasha so quickly.
And I don't even believe that they've gotten anything out of the execute yet. It's just been more for the stun, or even just for like closing the distance. As Inuyasha having a hard time trading with Apex, at least for now. Excuse coming in. Defender of Olympus is going to buy him some time. And KE now joining the fray, but Apex left all alone. Ends up shredded by the Thanatos transformation. Excuse finds the kill.
Great job there from Excuse, but not so much on the Hovering Dead. Still looking to confirm the kill onto Icky, and it will go down. But now it's the real Thanatos who showed up. No more pretending. Aven gonna make sure to take down Inuyasha.
And Hollow took a ton of damage on the rotation, now getting pulled back in. Scarab's Blessing is good, and he blocks the stun, but Consigned Spirit's just too good. Maker Love finds one, so does Sora. Clips on the back end, and now Excuse with no friends, no family, and nowhere to go, has to hide for his life behind the tier 1.
Finch, I hope nobody thought we were exaggerating when we said there was going to be non-stop action in this match, because Aven is going on a rampage right now. Number 5 for the Thanatos, been a part of 10 out of 11 kills. Aven is on fire right now.
And it's too bad, because that started with a great engagement for Excuse coming over and helping to punish Apex on this Hell in the solo lane. And winning a team fight when your Hell gets taken out early is usually tough, but we're still so early that the biggest element you can have really does feel like this Thanatos, the Bing, having a great game so far.
I'd almost think that Apex was the Thanatos with the amount of burst that's coming from this Hell.
Sure.
And it's just so rapid. Speaking of which, Eclipse and Apex now going to get stuck underneath the T1 tower. This is exactly where they don't want to be. That'll make a 2-for-1 exchange in favor of subs overall, but Nevermore does end up paying the ultimate price.
Bing finds him over on the dual lane side, whereas the Odin Cage punishes the over-aggression from Apex and Sir Eclipse in the middle lane. Couldn't quite bring down that tier 1 tower in mid, but now it's solo laner behind the jungler. We don't see that a lot, but a Bing really has been farming so efficiently this game. He's taking now the 2v1, make that the 3v1 up into the air, but he has Defender of Olympus channel as well. Hikei gonna land in the fight too. No one in Execute Threshold, but the Scythe removes Hollow.
Don't need Execute Threshold when you're able to do that much damage with your 1. Speaking of which, it's not over just yet. Maker's still going to take down Inuyasha yet again. Inuyasha has had such rapid deaths, and it's just one after the next. Every time he comes out of base, it feels like he's going down.
Trying to contest his Nevermore, but that was way too early for actually steal the gold for him. He must have just been looking for damage, as Get on My Level will secure the objective for themselves. But even though Maker Love didn't come into that fight with Blink to get him away from that, already Bing. Even though he didn't come in with his ultimate that time, between the Defender of Olympus, the Hovering Death, and when Maker Love is able to use his ultimate too, they're just able to show up to the fights in greater numbers, even when they're initially in favor of the subs.
And what's also a little bit bizarre is that Get on My Level, they were the ones who lost Eclipse and Apex underneath the T1 tower, and yet they were still able to push into the Gold Fury pit before the subs even had a chance to properly respond.
And that's the impacts from a being that he's able to have in the jungle. Again, he doesn't find the execute, but just using that stun to guarantee the death scythe on follow-up has been more damage than subs could handle. Hikei was there as well for a little bit of damage mitigation and control in the back end, and just like that, Get on My Level are the ones that control the fight, grab the objective and the tier 1 in right, and now Inuyasha might be in trouble. A Bing is here yet again.
Well, all Abing is waiting for is for that jump to come out. Scythe will manage to connect, but there's only 1 HP left standing for Inuyasha. Just got to connect on this hovering dead, and the blink is going to save him. Inuyasha is out of there.
And now a Bing in a whole heap of trouble. The tower puts him down. Excuse has been playing out of his mind on this Morrigan so far. The transformation into the Athena, but now here comes the real thing. Beej lets him get away as Maker Love finds Hollow elsewhere on the map in middle lane, but Hikei, not done chasing down Blood, finds him underneath the tier 2.
I've been really impressed with this Athena so far, by the way. Hikei just feels like he is outplaying subs at every possible corner. As soon as he shows up for the fight, I just know that he's going to be the game changer for it.
This is insane.
Get on My Level, losing a Bing and having Apex dive the T2, he's back to full health. Inuyasha is back under half, and he might even end up back inside of his base.
He absolutely is going to have to fall back in this one. He can't fight up against the 2 as the tier 1 tower in mid gets forked down. Tier 2 being threatened. Tier 2 in solo has come down. We are 13 minutes into this match, and there are 27 deaths in this game so far. 27 kills. It has been non-stop action. I love watching Southeast Asia, man. They're just throwing hands.
Oh, one thing I do have some concerns for, though, if subs want to bring this one back into contesting range, there's already an 8,000 gold disparity between these two teams, and that's not even factoring in the experience that's standing at over 10,000. And
scary.
One big issue here, well, not even just that, Nevermore has a massive problem in his ways, but Aving not going to connect to the death side for now, so Nevermore is going to live for just a little bit longer here.
That's a good counter to go up into the air himself to try and get away from the hovering death coming out from a Bing. The shots are going to be waiting on him when he makes it, but at this point he's too far out and doesn't end up falling. But you're talking about how subs can try and make their way back into this and how it's going to be difficult.
It's just they keep fighting and they need to just take a second to pull back and just focus on farming.
Yeah, and at this point, the more fights they take, the happier Get On My Level are going to be, because since they're winning them, they're coming out ahead in terms of farm. Too bad Morphine is too bad indeed. Goes right back to the base. Sir Eclipse looks like he might have stripped away the buff there, but he's going to go right into the ultimate. Puts Excuse in a coffin. Nevermore as well. Double kill from the mid lane made. Sir Eclipse firing on all cylinders. Maker Love finds Hollow in the middle lane. Jumping over the wall is Inuyasha. Apex with the blink can't quite keep up, and Inuyasha does make it out. But that's 4 for 0.
That's 3 blinks and 3 phantoms on the side of Get On My Level, and this might be a 14-minute Phoenix bench, because Get On My Level have zero intention of stopping anytime soon. They are going all the way home with this one, taking down the mid lane Phoenix, just 14.5 into this one.
Yeah, it's just been just a downhill roll for Get On My Level all game long, and now they're at the point where they're grouping up around this hell, and they've shown some attention to it, yes, but it just hasn't been enough. This hell is going to be able to do whatever she wants, and now the reinitiation, Hovering Death, is going to be coming out from a Bing. He lands down, finds the stun. It's Inuyasha. That's the target, but Eclipse's damage is just too much. Inuyasha will fall to a Bing on the backside. 2 quick kills for Get On My Level.
Get On My Level were just waiting for the ambush. They knew that subs would want to push into the jungle to try and double check as to whether or not Get On My Level had started the Fire Giant. And the answer was no. They Get On My Level, they wanted the kills, and they found 2 of them onto 2 very ideal candidates, Excuse and Inuyasha. Apex could be in a little bit of trouble here. Nevermore still trying to give him the hands, but too bad Morphine's already used his blessing. He doesn't have the Scare's Blessing to try and save the life anymore.
2-man taunt, Fire Giant going to Get On My Level as well. Now Nevermore is the one in trouble. Has to go up into the air for the ultimate. Excuse now joining the fray as the Chernobog, and the root will land, but Q Sir Eclipse who enters stage left. Excuse will find Apex first, but gets his life traded out by Maker Love. 4 against 4. The hell is down. That's pretty big. But they have Fire Giant and everyone else.
The problem is, subs aren't giving themselves an actual chance to farm. They are just charging down Get On My Level every chance they get. There's no reason for Excuse to go in. Sure, you find the kill. Who cares, though? You're 6 and 6. You still have 6 deaths. You need to stop fighting. You need to start farming. And you can't farm just getting a kill every minute and waiting to respawn and then suiciding again. I just want to see subs take a deep breath, slow it down, and realize you don't have to fight just because the enemy team's in your jungle.
Nevermore is certainly going to fall here, but Taco, you're exactly right. They're allowing Get On My Level to sort of dictate the pace of the game or make them play their game. And with Get On My Level with this lead now, the subs can no longer continue to do it. They have to fall back, try and play on their structures, grab the farm where they can safely, instead of, you know, this fight. They're trying to catch Sir Eclipse in the jungle. They do force out Phantom. Too bad Morphine's right here with the root as well, but Eclipse is actually winning this trade.
But look at the wave. The waves are disappearing into the creep waves for subs, and no one is farming or trying to take advantage of this. In fact, they might even end up losing this 2v1 exchange. Apex already going to take down Excuse. Wow. Now Inuyasha's going to be going next. Up until the Scare's Blessing buys him a little bit more time, but I don't even think that works in their favor.
The banish is good, so that at least means that he's not going to fall just yet. Does still have that shield working in his favor, but they're pushed up on the left side as well. Sir Eclipse will take Inuyasha down eventually. Hovering Death appears to be coming out. He was trying to take down Nevermore, patiently waiting for the silence in the middle of the dash. Hikayi going to get the last hit as Apex finds one more. Only Hollow left alive, and this just might be it, Taco. That's a deicide as Maker Love is divine. Get On My Level now looking for the Titan.
I think all subs really need to do is just slow it down.
Sure.
They were letting this game escalate at such a rapid pace because they kept trying to charge head on with Get On My Level, and it just doesn't work out when one team is still making sure to farm and take the objectives, so that way they're getting the necessary experience to keep progressing throughout the match. You can't just sit back and watch, and I understand that maybe they felt a little bit pressured out here. Subs, by the way, to clarify. Right. I think that they felt a little bit pressured out, that they had to do something right away, but that's not always the case. You can sit back, farm a little bit, and then after you get some more experience and itemization where you can reasonably contest the enemy team instead of getting 1v3'd, you know, that's the moment where you're kind of just like, hey guys, maybe we're not there yet.
Yeah, at a certain point, you're just kind of running into the wood chipper, right, and just getting chopped up, and that's kind of what it felt like from the subs there on the back end of that game. But at the very beginning, man, it was just a slugfest constantly, wasn't it? Bing was really the engine, the driving force for that throughout the early game, looking for constant ganks, not just over there with Apex, but in the dual lane too. He's the one that kind of got that ball rolling.
For as shaky as of a start as what he got off to, it worked out, and he smoothed everything out by the end of it, because that Thanatos was all over the place. I did not see a single Kefri ultimate that worked out in sub's favor either. I would definitely love to see.
I don't know if we saw an execute, to be honest.
You didn't need to see an execute. They never had a chance to really try and actually res anybody on their team. There was just so much damage from Get On My Level at all stages of the game that the subs were just, I don't know, it felt a little bit outclassed here.
Yeah, I think so. Get On My Level were able to play this sort of hectic, fast-paced match a little bit better than the subs were here in this case. And it wasn't just a Bing. Hikei, a huge part of that as well on that Athena for them. The taunts were perfect to get everything going, even cleaning up a few kills that would have gotten away otherwise underneath towers. Big plays.
I would argue that he's the primary reason why they're able to get off to such a fantastic lead, because not only does he set up Maker perfectly in the dual lane with those excellent body blocks to get the first blood, but all of those taunts and the thought process that he went in, it's because he seemed a little bit more technical, and he had a lot more finesse than some of the other players that we've probably seen from C. I don't know. I was just really impressed by that Athena gameplay.
It was great. That's really what got them off to a good start. I'm right there with you on that one, Taco. But let's move into game 2. Even when their first pick, subs are banning away this Pele, so it means they don't want it for themselves, and they certainly don't want to see Get On My Level played, so they're taking it off the board. Get On My Level are banning the Turnabog, don't want subs to have that. We just saw what Maker Love was able to do with that one in his own side, so they don't want that against them. Baron off the table this time too.
Almost throws you off the loop though, seeing the the logos from both of these teams be the exact same.
We saw the superior Panda last game though. It was Get On My Level. We'll see about this game.
And now they're trying to show him up. I think Tuvan Morphine maybe wants to take that Athena for himself. Saw what a great job Hikei was able to do last time around for Get On My Level, and now he's hoping to accomplish the same feat with his own team. But the Sobek is a really interesting pickup this early on, because I don't think that it's unusual to see Sobek in general right now in Season 5. I just think that to prioritize it up front, it just feels a little bit out of place here, but I like it still.
Well, it opens up the door for exactly that, right? The Jing Wei to come in on the back end of that pluck now, so that gives subs quite a nice matchup there into the Sobek. But it was banned out in game 1, so I'm not too surprised to Get On My Level of prioritizing it, at least within this meta that they've developed. Clearly the Sobek is highly contested, so they went ahead and picked it up for themselves, and they've got the Camazotz and the ROM to go right along with it. Taco, we don't see a lot of Camazotz anymore.
No, not much at all, really. Even though I think that Camazotz feels a little bit more like a sleeper pick right now. I think that his Vampiric Screech, Vampiric Bats, and the Bat Out of Hell are all excellent tools for helping to close out team fights or even start them. Speaking of which, I almost feel like subs are going for a little bit more of a counter-initiation composition so far. I think they Get On My Level definitely have the advantage right now, at least for the startup of a team fight.
I like it though. Like you can see the kind of like the waves of initiation, right? It could be Ratatosker or the Athena that could be going first. Whichever one comes second now benefits from the lack of beads. They've got some great tools, but yeah, that's not too big a surprise. Southeast Asia plays Anubis.
It could be Anubis. Anubis Camazotz is a very hyper-aggressive.
It's a lot of damage.
Duo, or I shouldn't say duo, but like mid-jungle.
Yes.
It's very deadly. So if subs are not careful, which their pathing was a little bit questionable in game 1. They have to make sure to clean that up here in game 2. Otherwise, this Anubis is going to tear them all apart.
Oh, it absolutely is. The one thing you do not want to do with an Anubis, I feel like, is give him those early fights where he can get ahead. You know, you kind of want to be able to punish his lack of mobility. You want to be able to try and like outpoke him. But he has so much sustain in his kit. He has so much damage as well. I mean, we don't get to see much of this guy, but he can be strong when he gets ahead.
I like the setup too that Get On My Level have in place for the Anubis. You got Osiris to provide a lot of anti-heal factors just in case subs were starting to get a little bit of sustain online, because there is a decent amount of self-sustain that could be available for subs, especially. I'm mostly looking towards Inuyasha here, because this is the solo lane Thanatos, by the way, into Apex's Osiris.
Okay. All right. That's the call here. Well, to be fair, if they're going to be throwing hands early on like they did last time, then, you know, you'll want a Thanatos on your side, as Inuyasha very far forward here and still just kind of hanging out. I don't see any wards there either, so he's looking for the steal?
They have no idea.
They seem to not know.
Bing has not spotted out Inuyasha. Okay, now they see him.
Yeah, maybe they did recognize.
Now they're letting him know, okay, buddy, you got to go back home now. And I think that's why he was laughing at the start.
I think so too.
I feel like he had to have seen him. Like, there's no way he couldn't possibly seen him around that rock.
To be honest, Inuyasha wasn't doing that much hiding. So yeah, I think he did get caught out, as it looks like the subs are going to give up lane pressure, come try and defend their purple buff, and they will grab that onto Nevermore. A KE with the sickening strike early on, which I like because it doesn't disrupt the wave as much and still have to get in good damage. But it does mean he can't displace either Nevermore or Morphine.
I'm hoping that he grabs his tail whip second on this Sobek just to try and interrupt Too Bad Morphine whenever a lot of Athenas like to go for their dashes at level 2 just to help clear with the wave. They don't start out with it. I think Athena Dash is probably one of the better tools as well for clearing out those waves early on.
It can be very strong, but it can be a bit risky too if like you said, it ends up getting punished. No big surprise though if we journey over to the solo lane to see Apex playing this Osiris. Berserker Shield really has kind of, I feel like, brought Osiris back in a really big way in the solo lane now. I am a little bit surprised. Oftentimes we see him go right into it, like with round shield tier 1, but he went with the Warrior's Blessing this time to try and help him out up against this Thanatos.
And Yasha's got to be careful here. Deathsight going to buy him a little bit more time with that heal, but so much poke already from the wave. That's one thing that Inuyasha's going to have to watch just a bit better is how much creep damage he's actually taking.
Right, he's got to be mindful of it because Apex can absolutely punish him with the stun, with the slow if he's able to lock him down too. There's a lot of tools, even stopping the back perfectly from Apex there. And again, I think Get On My Level's normally the solo laner for Get On My Level, right? But they're playing with Apex here, and he looks great for him last game and looking good here too.
Nevermore going to end up getting plugged in there from Hikai, but hasn't had a chance to dash just yet. Maker will connect with the cripple there off of that rollout shot, but still not enough to bring down the Jingwei so soon.
Apex now in the 1v2, looking to trade it out, but not going to be able to find it. Inuyasha, first blood for the subs. A good rotation from Excuse, who, by the way, played great for them last game. But look at this, a Bing going for the speed buff steal.
Close but no cigar there for Apex in the solo lane. 1v2s are just a little bit too complicated at the start. You need some help here. Speaking of which, Nevermore wishes that he had a little bit of assistance as Maker's going to end up taking him down.
That's a nice kill for them over on the dual lane side as a Bing now trying to find the retreat after invading the speed buff. Maybe not the retreat. He's still fighting, but now he has Hollow here as well. Impale catches him perfectly inside that pillar range, and Excuse finds yet another kill.
Bing might have still been feeling himself from that last game, but
yes,
he's not a Fed Thanatos any longer. It's a level 3 Camazotz, and he's got to be a bit more reasonable about when he chooses to go in there. And off of the fresh speed buff respawn, when you see the entirety of Subs' team hovering around that area, you just got to back off.
And I feel like he had every opportunity to get out of there too, but you know, a lot of confidence from a Bing and ends up paying for it a little bit there. Tuck, if we could, journey over to the middle lane, we do see Sarah Clips here with the Mage's Blessing, and I'm a little surprised by it. I feel like a lot of times we see the Bancroft Rush come right out from it. Do you want to have the Mage's Blessing, I guess, when you're on that Anubis in the middle lane?
Sometimes it just comes down to player preference. I think that Bancrofts is just a more of a risk-reward situation. Speaking of which, Apex now in a lot of trouble. Going to expend that Lord of the Afterlife, but just sets himself up. Inuyasha. Patience is a virtue for a reason.
And it absolutely works out in his favor. That's now 2 deaths for Apex over here in the solo lane, just not singing his praises a little bit. But he got some early attention last game on the Hell and didn't let that slow him down either. So we'll see if he can respond with it this time. Doesn't have to teleport anymore, so he has to walk back to lane, but is getting the Thanatos off to a good start.
Excuse ganking solo, though, that super early on. Actually, hold that thought. Too bad Morphine now under pressure from Bing. Vampiric Screech has connected so far, and so will the shots out of Maker just in case. Bat out of Hell going to clean it up, but Nevermore has been completely zoned away from the fight.
Now it's trouble for Hollow. A great Impale creates some space. Knockup comes through from Excuse, but Bing finds the double kill either way by finding Hollow. I like the attempt there to try and keep his teammate alive, but Excuse just couldn't do enough.
That makes everything worth it in a single moment, though. Support for the mid laner, I can't imagine a team that wouldn't take that trade every single day of the week, and Excuses, hard as he tried, just could not keep his mid laner alive. That's one of the woes of dealing with an ADC there.
Apex not going to find the Lord of the Afterlife, but that's not going to deter him either. He forces Inuyasha back, but he's got to be careful. He doesn't have Lord of the Afterlife, and now Excuse is here. Hovering Death could be waiting for the execute threshold a little bit too early, but Death Scythe makes up for it, covers all mistakes, and that's another kill for Inuyasha.
Apex is just so bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
He is just going in. And despite it not having worked out in his favor, 3 times now. He's still not deterred to the slightest, probably because he knows his mid laner's putting up damage numbers like this.
Eclipse, though, couldn't quite find an excuse, and now he's left on an island up against Inuyasha, who should be able to clean this one up with no trouble. Able to come in, and one more auto attack does it, and now they have a Thanatos that's 4-0-0. But it's in the solo lane. Is this as impactful as if it was in the jungle? I guess if Inuyasha rotates, it's no big deal, but I don't know. You feel like you want that ahead Thanatos in the jungle.
I just want to see Inuyasha with the early rotations because of the lead that he already has. 2 levels up on this Osiris. Not a whole lot of damage, though, into that T1 tower, and that could probably get on my level some very needed time. So a little bit of a downside there for subs, but Inuyasha could still choose to just maybe sacrifice some of the wave or laning pressure he has right now and look to make those early rotations still. Yeah,
he's got to get over and try and make sure that some of these, maybe this mid lane doesn't get too far out of control. Hollow has done well to punish some over-aggression, like from a Bing, he was right there with excuse by the speed buff. Do anything to help this on her, get even further ahead, or to put behind. This Anubis could be big, but Hollow might be in trouble. Pluck forces out the beads. Defender of Olympus is here, and Excuse is going to go ahead and zone everyone else away. Morphine's here now as well. But at this point, subs are just falling back.
Speaking of which, Inuyasha looking for Apex now, but I'm not sure he's going to decide to commit. Apex!
Man.
Executed one more time, and Inuyasha with the Rampage now. Thanatos and Rampages, man. Something about it.
4 of those kills are courtesy of Apex, it would seem, at this point. But yeah, Inuyasha's in a very good spot on this Thanatos. In fact, Morphine might be in a little bit of trouble. Lurking in the water to try and slow down this Athena. Shell comes out to keep him alive. Now the rest of the squad shows up as Sir Eclipse will find Morphine and finally put him down. Hollow, in fact, is going to get blinked on by a Bing, so one will kill for the Camazotz as well. But can they track down Excuse? The dash gets him away, and he will be able to clear the cam.
I kind of wanted to see a Bing soak up that Vampire pool, but instead it's going to be Inuyasha who's taking down Hikai. But now Inuyasha could end up falling. This could be the best opportunity to get on my level I've had so far, but Nevermore with the rotation back in, trying to finish the kill off onto Sir Eclipse.
Sir Eclipse appears to not have any cooldowns available, and Nevermore gets the shot. Inuyasha, though, finds Maker Love. That's the 3 members to get on my level that end up falling there. Excuse is the one that falls for the subs. They're going to use this opportunity to go right to the Gold Fury, and why not? They've got their Hunter here. Inuyasha, the solo laner, who does all that damage, is here as well. They're starting to shred through it, and no one from Get On My levels nearby.
This is what we wanted to see from subs last game, though. They find picks, and then they go for the objectives. A little bit early on, but that doesn't matter. It's still a bit of a lead, and the first real lead of this match, in fact, 1,400 gold in subs' favor, which is, considering how last game went, Finch, a huge boost to the team morale for sure.
Absolutely. At this point last game, they were so far behind. They were getting 4-man dove underneath their tier 1 tower in the middle lane, so they're in just a much better position now. But I mean, look around for Get On My level. They are behind, but it's not that bad still. It's not a huge lead. Apex has closed the gap a bit with Inuyasha after his rotations. A Bing is still ahead of Excuse. Maker Love is ahead too. They might rectify that though as Apex takes the 1v1 fight. Lord of the Afterlife hits both this time, but Execute Threshold sets up another kill for Inuyasha. 8-0-1.
I guess I just don't understand the up-down there. Why not try and run into the tower to at least buy your mid laner a little bit more time to rotate? Eclipse was on the move, and he might have had a better chance for setup here, but instead gonna expend that laser beam and come up short as Excuse now looking for the turnaround kill, but nothing is going to connect there onto Eclipse other than that flurry of acorns.
Hollow trying to get back towards the tower line, but nowhere to go. A Bing is going to find him. Now it's Morphine who's in some trouble in the middle lane, but they can't quite lock him down. But you saw it there. Our observer did a good job pointing it out. I'm sure that was Doug saying that about twice the time spent dead for Apex is the next closest person. He's been getting thoroughly punished in the solo lane.
And there it goes. Eclipse could not find the last hits. He needed just one auto before that Death Sight came into play. Could not finish it off there. He will, however, get some nice poke damage into this tower, but every little bit counts here for Get On My level.
But a Bing is the one keeping them even in this game. 4-1-1 in the jungle. He has some mid pressure there along with Decay, and they take down the tier 1 tower, the first tower of the game, really going the way of Get On My level. So the gold is right back to even between these two teams, Taco. the subs just can't keep a lead.
And this is just get on my level bailing out Apex, by the way.
Yes.
Because this is a get out of jail free card, but all that thought, because right now it's Takaya Maker who just barely manages to get up into that Astral Barrage. He's got to buy his team a little bit more time to respawn here.
Perfect from Abing. He comes in and at least makes it 1-for-1 by finding a kill, but now trading favorably with Hollow, who is going to make it up over the wall. Abing going to try and find him if they can, but a good killer ends up coming out. The two-man taunt sets up Nevermore for a kill into the Sobek. Abing with the leap. The heal's not enough, but Sword Clips trades 1-for-1 one more time. Okay.
And Apex finally finds Inuyasha. I guess he just needed a moment to be alone.
It's the 1v1 he's been looking for all game long, and finally he gets it. To be fair, he has lost a couple 1v1s already, but this time gets the better of Inuyasha.
Only 3 more to go, and then he's back to even.
See if he can find a couple more over there for Apex, as he's still not too far behind. Fortunately, as you said, kind of being helped by the rest of his team, you know, able to find plenty of pressure elsewhere.
Also, surprisingly enough, this is Apex playing with the Glad Shield as opposed to the Berserkers. So Cyrus, probably a little bit more keen towards that Berserkers right around now, but every player's got their own bowl of cereal, and Apex just happens to be the Glad Shield.
Bowl of cereal?
Yeah. You know, I like Lucky Charms, you like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Different bowl of cereal.
I get what you're saying. I'm not a huge Cinnamon Toast Crunch fan. Don't you like kind of like boring healthy cereal though, Taco?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I also like Lucky Charms.
Apex though with a big move, Lord of the Afterlife over the ultimate from Excuse, but the dunk down. Too bad Morphine is just too strong. Now 3 members to try and lock down Abing, and not a whole lot of places for him to run. In fact, how about Hollow makes the rotation too? Bat out of Hell will get Abing away, at least for now, and he should be A-okay, but Hovering Death might have different thoughts.
Hovering Death still trying to chase down this Camazotz. Abing going to manage to get out of there, I think so. Beautiful blood from Hikai, but it does come at a price. Now Sir Eclipse is under pressure, and the helicopter all around with a 360 ult is going to end up finding the kill.
It should never have, but it absolutely did. The light show coming up from Sir Eclipse gets him the kill onto Excuse, and at least makes it 1-for-1. Also, somehow, in a way that I'll never fully understand, Abing makes that alive as well. I mean, what an engagement for Get On My Level. They're just happy that it's even at this point, as the rest of the subs are going to fall back.
I honestly want a slow action replay of Sir Eclipse in that ultimate. It doesn't have to be an instant replay right now, but like at the end of the game, hopefully, I just
spinning around.
I have to watch that again. It doesn't make sense. Excuse. It was like that moment where you watch somebody run around with a rock in Smite, but they're actually killing you in the whole time. I don't know. I just feel like we don't get to see that enough.
It ends up working out in favor of Sir Eclipse, at least to make it a trade. As we take a look around, some interesting builds going all around the place. You already pointed out Glad Shield, which, by the way, Osiris can still use. I just think Berserkers might be certainly better. Witchblade coming in for Abing to try and go into the double Hunter composition. He is diving along the back line, so I don't hate that so much. A lot of interesting choices, even the Shifter Shield coming out for Inuyasha.
I think one thing I definitely want to see, though, from not even just one side or the other, but both teams, it's just a slightly slower pace of game.
Just breathe, right? Just
these matches feel more like an arena match. It feels like I'm watching arena because of just how actively aggressive these players are. And most of the time, it's not over on objective, and that's my real gripe with it, is that at a competitive level of play, you can't just be centralized on kills. You need to keep in mind that there are structures and objectives on the map. Subs and Get On My Level have both respectively done a decent job at going for objectives after the fact, but for the most part, it's just kills for the sake of killing.
Yeah, and this is not going to translate to international competition, right? Which is, and I don't just mean NA and EAU, Nocturnes won't let you do this, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Black
no
Dragons
chance.
won't let you do this kind of strategy, so there's just, I mean, Nocturne, they're an excellent team, and they're not going to let this kind of thing work for you, so if that's, it is the eventual goal for these teams, right? All trying to make it to those placement stages, all trying to play towards HRX, so you've got to make sure you clean this up a little bit, but I mean, I won't lie. It is a lot of fun to see Sir Eclipse get the spin to win on the Anubis in the middle lane somehow.
And you'd never expect it, but Apex is completely caught up to Inuyasha. Inuyasha 8-1. Spends a little bit too much time looking for kills and not enough time farming. Speaking of which, Sir Eclipse trying to buy himself as much time as possible in the mid lane, but in this 2v1 does not look like it's going to end up in his favor.
Aegis will allow him to get through that knockup. Is going to drop down the 3. That's the big one for him to let him heal up. And finds the Mummify and finds it, the kill. Excuse is going to trade it out, but in the 2v1, Eclipse comes up huge. Now Get On My Level can take the tier 1 and left and the fight. Kenny goes too far forward. Make Your Love can't find the shots, but look at Apex chasing down the rat.
And that's all that needs to tap in. Now Apex can continue swinging around into the left-hand side where Get On My Level have still been pushing into subs. Aluku and Nevermore have managed to get away so far, but they're not out of the woods just yet. Apex still looking to try and cut them off.
That should be the tier 2 tower confirmed. Morphine gets away from the stun, but not away from the pluck. Now the slow will land, the tail whip to disrupt, and coming right in is Nevermore trying to help out. He will find a KE, but a Bing will find too bad Morphine, and Apex gonna punish the Hunter.
And this is starting to feel a little bit more like the Get On My Level we saw in Game 1, Finch. Just
took a little longer.
Force. Strong-arming the dual lane into their favor. The big moment there was the fact that it took subs way too long to confirm that kill onto Surrey Clips. That's an Anubis that you have to just connect your skill shots to. If they land every single ability there, Surrey Clips doesn't even get a chance to use that Aegis, and instead, missed opportunities lead into broken chances.
And it might get even worse. He might be working towards a Typhon's Fang, which really synergizes well with what Anubis likes to do. It's so much healing if he picks that up. There's just no way it feels like sometimes to kill that Anubis. So they're struggling now. That's a task that could only get harder as the game goes on.
There's also no anti-heal on the side of subs. Speaking of which,
Genji's the first match defense item now.
Beads were pulled there from a Bing, so too bad Morphine finally getting a little bit of a victory there on the Athena. Good vision as well for subs. Deep into Get On My Level's jungle, but it's because they want this Gold Fury, Finch. I'm just not too sure that Get On My Level are going to let it go for free.
Star Eclipse has been slowed. Desert Fury's there. The stun comes out and never even gets to get any abilities off. Excuse cleans him up quite nicely, but Make Your Love might need a little bit of help. He turns around to Inuyasha, but the knockup's there, at least to get Hikei. They pull Excuse back in. The snipes are waiting, but a two-man stun from Inuyasha frees everybody out. He goes back in, gets the Death Scythe, and now is on his way out.
But it being still looking to tunnel onto Inuyasha, everybody forgetting about their Hunter on the backside. Maker will manage to find the last hit onto Excuse there as Apex takes down Halu, but these fights are getting so split apart here, and now Inuyasha going in by himself into the 1v2. He'll get cleaned up as well and just join the body count.
They just leave themselves in these 2v1s. They can't win, Taco. It's so it's so surprising here from subs, and they're putting themselves in their spot. They abandon Excuse on the back end. They allow for Hollow to get cleaned up as well by Apex. They're just getting lost in these fights. There must not be a clear voice as Nevermore has the beats forced out. A nice three-man taunt, but there's no follow-up.
They need a distinctive leader, Finch, that's for sure. But right now, Nevermore needs an escape route. He won't be able to find it, however, getting sent back to Fountain unintentionally. And just further extending that lead. Match 1 coming back to haunt subs. And I still want to break down just a little bit of what happened there at that Gold Fury engagement.
Sure.
Subs had the upper hand. I think that they were in a very clear advantage. They got a fast pick there onto Eclipse, and then they all go and they scatter. And it just, I cannot understand it for the life of me why they make such flawless execution plays on single target picks. But then the moment that multiple members jump into the engagement, you just see subs go all over the place. And that's just a lack of a shot caller.
I agree with you 100%. As Make Your Love is in a ton of trouble. He got the Pyromancer, but they're waiting on him to come right back down. He doesn't have the roll for another 5 seconds, and certainly will end up dying at KE1 to try and help. But Taco, you're right. The difference between a pick is that you don't have to communicate as much. You can kind of just line your abilities up just from your experience. But in that team fight, you have to communicate who needs help where, what target we're focusing on. Excuse gets abandoned on the backside, so does Hollow. Inuyasha does a great job of baiting, of staying alive right around here in that Gold Fury pit, even after the pick they find onto Eclipse. But they just couldn't capitalize. This is important, though, if they get this Gold Fury.
Everyone can't be looking for their own kills. That's the problem. The subs finally going to manage to find that Gold Fury. Caught Get On My Level sleeping just a little bit there. Or Get On My Level just thinking that subs might not have been interested in going for that Gold Fury right away. Good punish, though, because they did find the pick onto Maker first, force the 4v5 to begin with.
Apex does find more of the afterlife on Inuyasha. Mummify locks down Morphine. Shell comes out to keep him standing, but it's a K on the backside with the tail up to disrupt 2. But still waiting his excuses. He wants Eclipse, finds the knockup, and kills him during the death gate.
But what are they fighting for? Apex gonna get knocked up from the persistent gust. Haluko finally gets taken on the backside because he's abandoned for the 20th time this game. Now Hikai still trying to help assist wherever he can. Good blink out, gonna manage to get subs away for just a little bit longer, and Get On My Level are somehow managing to turn this team fight into their favor.
Execute doesn't land though onto a Bing when they had the chance. Maker Love finds Inuyasha and punishes the Thanatos. Excuse has to run away from the autos. Nevermore is able to jump a bit, but Apex will not be deterred. A Bing brings him down. Pluck lands. Excuse now getting deleted as well. Way in the backside. Maker Love finds the shots. That means it's a 4-for-1 in favor of Get On My Level. They'll grab the Phoenix on the left-hand side, almost certainly. But a Bing, chasing into the fountain, dies to Titan, by the way.
He had to die to something. I don't think that they're satisfied unless there's a death happening every minute.
Sure, they had to make sure. They're like, someone's lived a little bit too long. I said this Phoenix was confirmed, but I spoke too soon. Defended now by the subs. Apex doesn't get taunted back in. He had the Mad Guy's cloak, and now Morphine might be a little bit too far forward. Pluck off the mark. KE does find the tail whip, and Maker Love will eventually come get this Phoenix.
Phoenix just a little bit too low by the end of it all, and Get On My Level are one more time just getting away with sheer murder, if you ask me, Finch. Nevermore looking to see if he can punish Maker, but with the speed buff on around his belt, there's no chance of catching up. Instead, Apex going to be the new ideal candidate to target out, and, well, it's a full-on rundown.
Who's waiting around the corner, though? Taco into the Anubis, and he puts the hurt on Inuyasha. Maker Love takes care of Nevermore as well, and just like that, you just don't chase him. You just don't do it. Excuse will find Maker Love on the back end at the very least, but it ends up working out and Get On My Level's favor again.
And Excuse just going to end up joining his teammates one more time. They're back at the fountain. 3-for-1 exchange, and that's a lot of kills for a 21-minute and climbing game.
Taco, it's absurd.
It's arena. That's what it is. I just
make sure you get them tickets, ladies and gentlemen.
Not even joking. Like, there's no sarcasm in my tone in the slightest. I want to let C know I'm being the utmost serious right now. You guys have got to stop recklessly aggressing for no reason. There's no objectives. And Get On My Level, honestly, shouldn't have never been able to get the Phoenix in the first place. The fact that subs continue that initiation past their, or in their jungle that deep, past their back, Harpies on the left-hand side, there's no reason for either side to stick around for that long. If subs disengage just for 30 seconds, then that forces Get On My Level to back off. That forces them to leave the area because there's nothing to kill, and then they can't take your Phoenix.
Unfortunately, they get punished for it in Taco. The message has not sunk in yet as they continue their aggression. This time, though, it's a Bing looking for damage to the bat of hell, up against 5 members. He does send at least Inuyasha running, who's very low. Up into the air goes Excuse as well, and Get On My Level with essentially 2 members here win the trade.
Ratatoskar still in the air there with that through the Cosmos, and Eclipse, look who's all by his lonesome, but not for long, thanks to Astral Barrage. Didn't even need the assistance, I don't believe, but Hikai gonna end up finding Nevermore, while Apex takes down Haluko, and Eclipse, he's been farming out mid lane this whole time.
Yeah, and Apex is gonna keep going on Too Bad Morphine and forcing him back into the fountain. The left side Phoenix already down, and Fire minions should be pouring in shortly. The Titan is swinging on Apex, who just barely makes it out. It looks like Sir Eclipse wants the mid Phoenix. He's getting no help there. And on the right-hand side, they got Maker Love doing the right side thing, so they're going to be able to bring them all down. But can the subs defend? Can they find a way to force back? Get On My Level. Mid Phoenix down, right Phoenix down. No, Phoenix is standing. Get On My Level now with the Pluck going to keep up the fight.
I don't think we've seen a single defensive moment from subs underneath their own structures. It has always been in the jungle or just them being chased unabashedly.
Oh, this might just be it.
And it is looking like it, Finch, because Get On My Level are just reminding the subs that they are the one true panda.
They are the one true panda. It certainly seems that way. Excuse going to end up falling. A taunt comes out, but really nothing can be made of that. They're looking for kills inside the fountain, not even looking for the Titan here at this point. They finally turn toward the structure. Death Gaze can't quite find him, and the game goes to Get On My Level. The set goes to Get On My Level. They'll stay undefeated there in Southeast Asia. change.
I think they're just trying to see which team can get the most kills in under 30 minutes. That's what it's feeling like.
They were 50 plus, right, at that point in the game?
Yeah, they were. They were.
Just
barely made it towards the end there. I think it was like 54 and some change. I don't know.
That's just barely, by the way. But yeah, get on my level, the ones that end up coming out on top. And really, Apex was getting kind of farmed at the beginning of that game.
Oh, he got mad farmed. Yeah, he was heavy farmed, and then he brought it back because we wanted to see the rotations from Inuyasha. We got that, but we got too much of that. It was just Inuyasha continuously chasing around the map as opposed to getting a little bit of farm, so Apex was finally able to catch up.
It seems like even though Apex struggled early, he was able to catch up. Otaku, I think we're about to get to take a look at that play that you requested from Sir Eclipse onto the Anubis. It was in the middle lane, I think, where he was under duress from Excuse. Beads there, just in case, able to make it out based on the sound cues, I imagine. Still holding on to that ultimate. He comes in with a Q. Excuse somehow tracks him down through all of it. The last tick, really, I think, is what did it.
I was trying to figure out what part of the ultimate could have possibly hit the squirrel there, but Ratatasker, it is your unlucky day there.
I think it was the very final ticket that then ends up hitting and just barely keeps him alive. But he does end up falling to too bad. Morphine on the back end of that, though, from that Athena. So that does mean that he ends up falling. But Southeast Asia, we love to see it. That's the action that we expect from No Big Surprise. Let's go and see where everyone's at. Get on my level. Of course, still undefeated at this point. Mashu Boys and Substitutes right there behind him. Mashu Boys with a pretty great logo of their own. We'll see if they get to make it to land. But right now, Get on my level, the ones to beat in Asia.
Well, if the other teams keep playing like subs and to Get on my level, then Get on my level might just go uncontested this time around, Finch, because it's just way too aggressive for no reason. C's just got to take a step back. That's it. You can be a little bit more controlled, a little bit more defined in what you're actually fighting for, because I think if you ask subs, why are you guys even attacking here? Why are you even entertaining this notion of a team fight? They probably wouldn't be able to give you a solid answer.
And again, it doesn't really bode that well for Get on my level either. It does get them the win today, but we talked about it, right? If your goal is to beat the likes of Nocturne, to beat the line of Black Dragons, to beat some of these SML, NA, EU, SPL teams, that's just not going to cut it.
That will not fly at the international stage, but of course, unfortunately enough, it's not just about these guys and trying to get the worlds, because I think everybody wants to watch them.
I think everybody does want to watch them. If you want to see them all in action, then there's a pretty easy way to do it. Go to highresexpo.com, open up another tab right here, right now. That way you don't have to stop listening to me, and go ahead and purchase those tickets. It really is that easy. It's not just to watch Smite and Paladins, but you get to see the whole DreamHack floor, basically. If there's any other games you want to see going on there, too, you get to enjoy all of that. But also, of course, the big high-res expo feel will certainly be there for you, too.
And don't worry, guys. You can get even more bonus Finch voice at the after party from HRX. I guarantee he'll be there. He might be dabbing around the venue a few times, but he'll definitely make sure to make things fun.
That is loudest, funchiest Finch, by the way, is after party Finch. So you're not going to want to miss that. That is something that you absolutely want to have in your life. Only $50. Hire hrxafterparty.eventbrite.com. Make sure that you're there at that party. It's always really the big highlight, I would say, outside of like finals, obviously, is how everyone's hanging out there at the after party.
I mean, it's always a lot of fun, and for the teams, of course, as well. It's a lot of pressure leading up to the event. So best of luck to everybody as we get to have the fun of casting them through it.
That's right. Yeah, it's not nearly as like heart-wrenching for us or nerve-wracking for us, is it? We just kind of are hoping for a good show, and we always get one. But again, that's going to do it for the Global Series today. Great action there out of Southeast Asia, but the SPL will be picking up shortly. I believe that's 1 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you're right back here for that to see the big dogs play, and thanks for watching.